Chapter 3400. Elephant Monkey Tribe. Zhuowen put away the space-time roulette and landed in the main city. He noticed that the members of this tribe looked like apes, but their mouths were like elephant trunks, long and flat. When they spoke, their eyes narrowed, making them look wretched and annoying. "My lord, this old man is the Elephant Monkey Tribe's chief, Ho Xiang. May I know why you have come to our tribe?" When Zhuowen landed in the main city of the tribe, an elderly man quickly walked out from within the tribe. He held a walking stick and quickly walked in front of a young tribesman. His speed was so fast that Zhuowen wondered if this old man was really a cripple. "Which part of the primitive heaven domain is this?" Zhuowen asked. The primitive heaven domain was very vast, even bigger than the Xianmi heavenly domain. Although he had obtained the star map of this place from the heaven-splitting axe's spirit, the star map was only a rough estimate. However, the star chart only recorded the approximate location of the entire starry sky. There was no detailed record of the various heavens. Although Zhuowen had obtained the star map of the primitive heaven domain from the Phoenix people's Saintus, it was not complete. It only provided the route to the Phoenix people. As for the other parts of the primitive heaven domain, there was no record of it at all. This was also why Zhuowen was unfamiliar with this place when he landed in the tribe of the Elephant Monkey Tribe. Seeing Zhuowen's confused face, the chief of the Elephant Monkey Tribe, Ho Xiang, knew that this mysterious expert was not here to deal with the Elephant Monkey Tribe. He must have accidentally lost his way. "My lord, this is the southernmost border of the primitive heaven domain. Our Elephant Monkey clan, on the other hand, has been living here for generations." The patriarch of the Elephant Monkey Tribe, Ho Xiang, took out a jade slip from his spiritual ring and respectfully handed it to Zhuowen, saying, "My lord, this is the map of the southernmost region of the primitive heavenly domain. This old man has no use for it, but since my lord needs it, I'll give it to you." Zhuowen took the jade slip and glanced at the star chart in it. He was slightly disappointed. The prehistoric heaven realm was very vast, and there were many natural danger zones in many areas. If one did not have a star map, it would be very easy to lose one's way, and one would be unable to reach one's destination. With Zhuowen's speed, it was actually not difficult for him to traverse the entire great desolate heaven domain. However, he knew that if he did not find the right direction, it would be useless no matter how fast he was. At that time, it would be a waste of time. The star map that Ho Xiang had given him was simply too small. He estimated that the star map in his hand was probably only 1/1000th of the southern region of the prehistoric heaven realm. Just by relying on the star map, it would be difficult for him to even go to the Earth Shaman tribe in the center of the heaven domain, let alone find the secret passage that he had used to enter the primitive heaven domain. The range of the star map is too small. "It's not very useful to me," Zhuowen said with a frown. Ho Xiang was not surprised. He said respectfully, "My lord, in the extreme south region, Shark Snake City is the largest city in this region. It is controlled by the great Shark Snake clan. Inside the Shark Snake City, there is a teleportation formation that leads directly to the Shaman God City. Other than that, a famous clan like the Shark Snake clan also has a more complete star map. My lord, you can go to the Shark Snake City to take a look. Perhaps you will find something." Zhuowen looked at the jade slip again. Indeed, he had found the location of the Shark Snake City in the jade slip. It was not too far away from here. "There is a teleportation formation that leads directly to the Shaman God City, but I heard that the Shaman God City has been destroyed. Can the teleportation formation still be used?" Zhuowen asked doubtfully. "My lord, it seems like you have not been in the prehistoric heaven domain during this period of time, so you might not know. The Shaman God City has been rebuilt. It is said that not long after the Shaman God City was destroyed, two experts who claimed to be from the Shaman tribe descended. They gathered the surviving disciples of the Shaman tribe and rebuilt the Shaman God City." Ho Xiang was a little suspicious that Zhuowen did not know about this, but he did not think too much about it. "There are still experts in the Shaman tribe? Weren't they all wiped out by that long one?" Zhuowen said in surprise. "My lord, you really know how to joke. Which of the top 10 tribes of the prehistoric heaven domain has not been passed down for countless years before they finally reached their current heights? Such a powerful tribe has developed for countless years and countless experts. Naturally, there will be many talented geniuses. Take the shaman tribe as an example. Some of the past sacred lords of the shaman tribe have broken through the peak of the Master of Heaven and stepped into the half-step to heaven-breaking realm. However, these experts have always been focused on cultivation. In order to reach the highest realm, they all abdicated in advance, left the prehistoric heaven domain, and went to the heavenly secret realm. The two mysterious experts who came this time are said to be the two previous sacred lords of the shaman tribe. They heard that the shaman tribe was almost wiped out, so they returned from the heavenly secret realm. It is not just the shaman tribe. It is said that even the past clan leaders of the Corpse Ghoul tribe and the Phoenix people could not hold back and returned from the heavenly secret realm. It is said that they are all investigating Longwen. Although Longwen died from self-explosion, these experts obviously do not want to let him go. They want to find out the force behind him and exterminate his tribe. But the strange thing is that Longwen's origin is very mysterious. Because Longwen did not expose the aura of his tribe until his death, people can't figure out his tribe at all. Ho Xiang sighed as he said, "Speaking of which, Longwen is really powerful. It is said that he was born in a small tribe, but he could do such a magnificent thing. I really admire him." Hearing this, Zhuowen's expression changed slightly, and he became serious. He had made such a big noise in the prehistoric heaven domain. He was afraid that he could not hide it in the heavenly secret realm for too long. In the future, when he entered the heavenly secret realm, he had to be very careful of the real old experts of the shaman tribe and the Corpse Ghoul tribe. He knew that most of them should be at the half-step to heaven-breaking realm, old monsters that could not be underestimated. Fortunately, his current identity was that of self-explosion, so those old guys would not pay attention to him. Instead, they would pay attention to Green Hat. After all, Green Hat was not simple. He had a big secret, and as long as he was not a fool, he could see it. After listening to Ho Xiang's account, Zhuan decided to go to the Jiao Snake City and go to the newly built Shaman God City through the teleportation formation there. When he reached the Shaman God City, he planned to make a trip to the Phoenix people. He wanted to find the Grand Elder Mu Yu and ask about Mu Qinshue's whereabouts. Of course, the pain that the Grand Elder Mu Yu and the others had inflicted on Mu Qinshu would also let them have a good taste of it. He would not tolerate it. "Thank you for this time. This is your reward." Zhuan casually took out a pill and threw it to Ho Xiang. Then, he took out the space-time roulette and flew toward the Jiao Snake City. Ho Xiang did not even see how Zhuan left. He found that Zhuan had already disappeared. He lamented in his heart that Zhuan was really a terrifying expert. He was glad that he did not say anything wrong to provoke such an expert. However, the moment Ho Xiang saw the pill in his hand, he felt as if he had been hit by a heavy blow. Because the pill in his hand was actually a distant Dao pill. This pill could help a peak heavenly Dao master to smoothly advance to Dao Yuan master in a short time. It was a divine pill. Ho Xiang was already a peak heavenly Dao master. However, he always felt that there was some gap between him and Dao Yuan master, and he could not break through. He had gone to the Jiao Snake City several times to purchase distant Dao pills. However, the price of distant Dao pills was really too high. He did not have the wealth at all, so his cultivation level had been stagnant. But now, he had only told Zhuowen some information that he knew, and he had received such a precious divine pill. Ho Xiang only felt like he was dreaming. "Thank you, sir." Chapter 3401. Jiao Snake Tribe. The Jiao Snake City was quite far from the Elephant Monkey Tribe. However, this distance was nothing to Zhuan. After 6 hours, Zhuan arrived near the Jiao Snake City on the space-time roulette. He paid the corresponding Heavenly Law origin crystals and entered the Jiao Snake City without a hitch. Although the Jiao Snake Tribe was a large tribe, it could only be considered at the bottom among the many large tribes in the prehistoric heaven domain. The Jiao Snake City naturally could not be compared to the Shaman God City. After Zhuan entered the Jiao Snake City, he sensed for a while before walking towards the core hall of the Jiao Snake Tribe. With Zhuowen's strength, it was not difficult for him to enter the core hall of the Jiao Snake Tribe without anyone noticing. In the core hall of the Jiao Snake Tribe, the tribe leader, Jiao Yu, was gathering the upper echelons of the tribe to discuss something. In the huge core hall, there were more than 10 people including Jiao Yu and the upper echelons. Their voices were not loud, but the discussion was especially intense. Tribe leader, you can't take the risk. You also know that the young miss has been poisoned by the absolute poison. Even if you go to Suicide Valley as a hostage, the absolute poison master might not give you the antidote. This is the absolute poison master scheme. Tribe leader, you can't fall for it. One of the upper echelons stood up and said to Jiao Yu in an agitated voice. Jiao Yu's gaze was grave. He revealed a conflicted and hesitant expression and sighed softly, "No. As long as there is a chance of survival, I have to save Ning'er. I owe her too much since she was young. I can't let her die like this. Tribe leader, please consider this at length. You are the tribe leader of the Jiao Snake tribe and the pillar of the tribe. If you leave the tribe, there will be no one to lead the tribe." Immediately, the other 10 people in the core hall knelt on the ground and advised Jiao Yu to consider this at length and not be rash. The entire core hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Other than Jiao Yu, everyone else knelt on the ground. Even Jiao Yu frowned slightly and revealed a conflicted expression. He did not say a word. You are the tribe leader of the Jiao Snake tribe? In this oppressive and quiet environment, a voice suddenly broke the silence. The 10 upper echelons of the Jiao Snake tribe who were kneeling on the ground stiffened and immediately stood up. They looked coldly at the entrance of the hall and the figure who was slowly walking in. Jiao Yu also looked at the Jiao Yu and Jiao Yu. He did not notice. If this person had not deliberately made a sound, he would not have noticed him. Or you. Jiao Yu sized up the black-clothed young man in front of him, his eyes filled with doubt and vigilance. He dared to guarantee that he had never seen this person before. Furthermore, this person was clearly not a member of the Shark-Snake clan. Who I am is not important. I would like to borrow your mermaid-snake race's teleportation formation. I have some matters to attend to in the sorcerer race's sorcerer god city. It's a little rushed, Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Yu tribe. Yu clan's Jiao tribe. Yu tribes Yu. You want to use our Jiao tribe's Jiao Yu. You have committed a great crime by barging into the core hall of our tribe. Don't waste your breath on him. Since he dared to barge into the main hall, he is not a kind person. Take him down. The upper echelons of the Jiao Snake tribe did not wait for Jiao Yu to speak. They rushed toward Zhuowen, intending to capture him alive. Unfortunately, not long after they arrived at Zhuowen's side, they discovered that their bodies were motionless, and they were fixed in midair. They could clearly feel that the surrounding space-time had completely frozen at this moment. Both time and space had come to a complete standstill. The black-robed youth walked past the upper echelons calmly and arrived in front of Jiao Yu. When Jiao Yu saw Zhuowen's actions, his pupils shrank. He could not believe it. The upper echelons of the Jiao Snake tribe were all masters of creation. Even he, the tribe leader, would not have an easy time dealing with these masters of creation. He might have to pay a price to defeat them. However, this ridiculously young youth before them did not move at all. Instead, the upper echelon of the Jiao Snake race froze in midair. Jiao Yu naturally sensed the terrifying space-time force surging around the young man. He knew that the young man was relying on this terrifying space-time force to restrain these high-level experts. Cold sweat gradually dripped down Jiao Yu's forehead. He could feel that this person was stronger than him, and not just by a little, but by a lot. Jiao Yu took a deep breath and asked in a low voice, "You were sent by the deadly poison master to kill me?" Zhuowen said somewhat impatiently, "I don't know the so-called deadly poison master you speak of. I've already said my purpose for coming to your Jiao Snake city. I'm in a hurry, so I need to use your Jiao Snake race's transportation formation." Jiao Yu took a deep look at Zhuowen and sighed, "Fellow Taoist, since you want to use our teleportation formation, that's fine. However, can you release my clansmen first?" Zhuowen nodded and snapped his fingers. The upper echelon of the Jiao Snake race who were trapped in space-time immediately regained their freedom. However, after they regained their freedom, they all distanced themselves from Zhuowen. Their eyes were filled with fear. Fellow Taoist, if you're only using my race's transportation formation, I'll get my subordinates to bring you to the location of the transportation formation. I'm Jiao Yu of the Jiao snake race. I still have some important matters to discuss with them, so I can't accompany you. After Jiao Yu excused himself from Zhuowen, he chose a skinny man from the upper echelon behind him and got him to bring Zhuowen to the location of the transportation formation of the Jiao snake race. The skinny man brought Zhuowen to the location of the transportation formation. This was an underground secret chamber. The secret chamber was rather large, and in the center of the secret chamber was a dim and lightless formation. From the direction of these formation lines, Zhuowen could tell that this was indeed a rather powerful transportation formation. Sir, this is the transportation formation of our Jiao snake race. We've just connected to the newly built Witch God City, so you can use it without worry. The skinny man was clearly rather afraid of Zhuowen. He spoke respectfully and carefully. Furthermore, as the skinny man spoke, he personally took out a heavenly Dao origin crystal and placed it in the openings around the formation. Not long after, the originally dim teleportation array lit up. Sir, my clansman instructed me to bring this heavenly Dao origin crystal. The cost of this transportation will be paid by our Jiao snake race. You can use it without worry, the skinny man said with an earnest smile. Zhuowen nodded. The leader of the Jiao snake race was rather considerate. He took out a jade bottle and said, "There's an antidote in this jade bottle. It might be of some use to your leader. Please pass this jade bottle to your leader on my behalf." The skinny man took the jade bottle and hurriedly thanked Zhuowen. However, Zhuowen could see the indifference in the skinny man's eyes. He didn't mind either. He stepped into the transportation formation and was enveloped by a blazing light. Soon after, he disappeared from the transportation formation. The skinny man watched as Zhuowen disappeared into the light of the transportation formation. Then, he looked at the jade bottle in his hand and revealed a hesitant expression. In the end, he decided to pass the jade bottle to the leader and let him make the decision. Chapter 3402. Holy Maiden of the Demon Region. The Patriarch and the other upper echelons were arguing non-stop. The Patriarch insisted on going to the Suicide Valley. Patriarch, this jade bottle was left for you by the Lord who just left. The skinny man suddenly opened his mouth and handed over the jade bottle that Zhuowen had given him to Jiao Yu. Jiao Yu took the jade bottle and frowned. What's inside this jade bottle? It's an antidote pill. Before that Lord left, he said that the antidote pill in this jade bottle can cure the poison in young Mrs. Body. The skinny man still repeated Zhuowen's words. Cure the poison in young Mrs. Body? What kind of joke is this? Young Miss is poisoned by a heaven-level poison. How could an ordinary antidote pill be able to cure it? Although this lord is strong, he is not a pill master after all, so he does not understand. That's right. This senior is strong, but that does not mean that his pill Dao is also strong. Or rather, he does not know anything about pill Dao, and this antidote pill is also casually taken out, right? In the Great Hall, all the experts in the upper echelons laughed. Even the skinny man who brought back the antidote pill was mocked. The skinny man was very embarrassed. If he had known that he would be mocked, he would not have taken out the antidote pill. It was too embarrassing. Jiao Yu opened the bottle stopper, and immediately, a powerful medicinal power gushed out, forming a multicolored light that filled the hall. What a strong medicinal power! This is probably a heavenly pill. If this was an antidote pill, then it would definitely be a heavenly pill. The dozen or so higher-ups who were originally mocking him were immediately shocked by the medicinal power. They stared at the gushing multicolored light, their eyes filled with disbelief. Jiao Yu's eyes also revealed an excited look. He knew that with this heavenly pill, he would have a way to cure the poison in his daughter's body. At this moment, Jiao Yu was filled with gratitude toward Zhuowen. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes, and the blazing light in front of him completely dissipated. He discovered that he had already arrived at a bustling street. The streets were bustling with people, and they were filled with foreign experts. Zhuowen looked around and realized that the surroundings were unfamiliar to him. However, from the discussions of the foreign race experts around him, he knew that this was the rebuilt Shaman God City. What are you daydreaming about? Hurry up and leave. The sorcerer tribe disciple beside the teleportation formation saw that Jun was in a daze and spoke rudely. Jun came back to his senses and left the teleportation array. After entering the place where Pangu fell, he had completely removed his disguise, so he had now returned to his original appearance, not the appearance of the dragon rune. If he appeared in the new witch god city with the appearance of Long One, it would probably cause a huge commotion. As Jun scanned the entire sorcerer god city with his spiritual force, he could not help but nod inwardly. The new sorcerer god city was several times larger than the original one, and it was even more luxurious. Furthermore, the witch god city had become even more sturdy. Jun could sense that the interior of the witch god city should be protected by an array formation that was even more powerful than before. Jun was not in a hurry to leave the witch god city. Instead, he found the busiest restaurant in the city and casually ordered a few jugs of wine. The main reason he had come to the restaurant was to gather some information. Most of the foreign race experts in the restaurant were not very powerful, but they were very interested in gossip and would often discuss the recent events in the restaurant. Jun sat there for several hours. What made him speechless was that most of the discussions in the restaurant were about the dragon rune. It had been so long, but the popularity of this matter had not died down. It was clear how influential this matter was. In addition, Jun also heard some news about the Green Hat. It was said that the two sorcerer tribe mighty figures who had rebuilt the witch god city were Wu Jian and Wu Jimiao. These two sorcerer tribe mighty figures had returned to the primitive celestial domain mainly to investigate the Green Hat. Later on, they really did find the Green Hat and joined forces with the half-step mighty figures from the Corpse Ghoul tribe, the Phoenix people, and other major tribes to kill the Green Hat. Unfortunately, the Green Hat was too powerful. Although it was severely injured, it still managed to severely injure several half-step heaven-crushing mighty figures and escape. Hearing this, Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He knew that the Green Hat must have been severely injured. With the Green Hat's personality, it rarely did things like escape. Zhuowen rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, "It seems that the explosion of Pangu's shadow back then had a big impact on the Green Hat." In addition, there was another piece of news that completely attracted his attention. This news was about the demon realm. It was said that the ruler of the demon realm, Dong Huangti, had recently taken in a goddaughter and made her the saintess of the demon realm. This news was extremely shocking in the Xianmi heavenly domain and the primitive celestial domain. Because the demon realm had only been established not long ago, its foundation might not be comparable to the Xianmi heavenly domain and the primitive celestial domain. However, Dong Huangtai was simply too powerful and controlled many great sorcerer corpses. The Xianmi heavenly domain and the primitive celestial domain did not dare to act rashly. Even so, the demon realm had never made a saintess. But now, Dong Huangtai had actually made a saintess of the demon realm abnormal. This naturally attracted countless attention. Moreover, many experts were very curious about the identity of the saintess of the demon realm. However, the identity of the saintess of the demon realm was very mysterious. Moreover, she rarely showed herself, so there was no way to investigate her background. Moreover, the reason why this saintess had attracted so much interest was that this saintess had followed the demon realm's diplomatic mission to the primitive celestial domain and paid a visit to the Phoenix people. During the visit, the saintess of the demon realm attacked and killed the Phoenix people's Grand Elder Mu Yu and Third Elder En Yen with a single move. The entire Phoenix people were shocked. Even the Grand Elder of the Phoenix people could not stand it. He planned to capture the saintess of the demon realm and make her pay with her life. In the end, Dong Huangtai appeared. The Grand Elder of the Phoenix people, who had come down from the heaven-accessing secret land, was very afraid of Dong Huangtai. In the end, he let the saintess of the demon realm go. However, the Grand Elder of the Phoenix people and Dong Huangtai obviously had some substantial communication. Otherwise, the Grand Elder of the Phoenix people would not have let the matter go so easily. Zhuowen was surprised. Before returning to the Xianmi heavenly domain, he had planned to personally go to the Phoenix people and directly capture Grand Elder Mu Yu and Third Elder En Yen. Now that these two people had been killed by the saintess of the demon realm, wouldn't there be no clues about Mu Chenxue? Of course, Zhuan had previously captured Feng Lilua, the clan leader of the Phoenix people, alive. Moreover, Feng Lilua was still imprisoned in his macro world. However, Feng Lilua was not very clear about Mu Chenxue's whereabouts. It was said that the Grand Elder had taken Mu Chenxue to the old site of the Heavenly Armor Star, intending to find the origin of Mu Chenxue's bloodline. Chapter 3403. Zhuan was sure that Feng Lilua was not lying. In order to confirm whether Feng Lilua was lying or not, he had searched her soul. Feng Lilua was severely injured because of that. She was still in a daze and her mind was not clear. He knew that the only people who knew about Mu Chenxue's whereabouts were the Grand Elder Mu Yu and the Third Elder En Yen of the Phoenix people. After all, they were the ones who took Mu Chenxue away. Only the two of them knew how Mu Chenxue went missing. Let's go to the Phoenix people and take a look. Perhaps the deaths of Grand Elder Mu Yu and Third Elder En Yen are just rumors. Zhuan gritted his teeth. He did not give up. He decided to go to the Phoenix people and take a look. Only then would he be satisfied. Suddenly, the noisy restaurant quieted down. The experts of the foreign races in the restaurant all stopped making noise and looked at the sky outside the restaurant. Zhuan looked out, and he was shocked to see an incomparably huge flying divine tool hovering in the sky. The flying divine artifact was oval-shaped. It was 1/3 the size of Sorcerer God City. It floated in the sky above Sorcerer God City like a dark cloud, causing most of Sorcerer God City to fall into darkness. The moment the flying divine artifact appeared, a group of people walked out of the inner city of Sorcerer God City. At the front of the group, a man wearing a dark brown silk robe caught Zhuowen's attention. This man was tall and slender, and he was wearing a large silk robe and a large hood on his head. The man's aura was very strange. It gave people a feeling that he was sometimes powerful and sometimes ordinary. It was a feeling that was very hard to grasp. Fear filled Zhuowen's eyes when he saw the figure. Although the person's aura was erratic, Zhuowen could sense that the person was very powerful, even terrifying. There were two experts of the sorcerer tribe on each side of the long-robed man. The skin color of the two sorcerer tribe members was completely different. One of them was light blue, while the other was fiery red. Their auras were also completely different. One was extremely cold, while the other was extremely hot. These two people's auras are much more powerful than Wu Shenya's. They should be the two sorcerer tribe experts who came down from the heavenly secret realm. They're both half a step away from the heavenly secret realm. Zhuan narrowed his eyes as he looked at the long-robed man. He could tell that Wu Jiyan and Wu Jimiao were very cautious as they faced the long-robed man. Even the smiles on their faces were polite. He knew that this long-robed man was definitely a half-step heaven-crushing cultivator. Looks like the lord of the demon region, Dong Huang Tai, has already reached an agreement with the two experts of the witch clan. Speaking of which, Dong Huang Tai is really good to the holy maiden of the demon realm. For the sake of the holy maiden of the demon realm, he personally came to the Sorcerer God City to discuss with the two almighty figures of the sorcerer tribe. In the restaurant, someone sighed and revealed the identity of the long-robed man. Zhuan looked deeply at the long-robed man. His heart trembled slightly. He had not expected this guy to be the lord of the demon region, Dong Huang Tai. Speaking of which, when the 9-level pagoda had appeared and Dong Huang Tai had broken out of the seal, he had been present. However, he had escaped too quickly and had not seen Dong Huang Tai's true face. Now, he had actually seen him in the Sorcerer God City. Zhuan did not pay much attention to Dong Huang Tai. After all, he had never interacted with such a person before. Moreover, he was not interested in the holy maiden of the demon region. What he was really interested in now was the specific whereabouts of his wife, Mu Chenxue. Look, the holy maiden of the demon region has come out. It looks like the Phoenix people have really compromised and released the holy maiden of the demon region. Suddenly, the crowd became excited and the surrounding atmosphere became very lively. Everyone was looking at a beautiful figure in the group that had boarded the flying divine artifact. This beautiful figure silently stood beside Dong Huang Tai. Her beautiful eyes were calm and there was a thin veil hanging from the corner of her mouth. This veil was very mysterious. It was releasing a variety of colors and it actually had the effect of blocking divine sense. When everyone used their divine sense to look at the Holy Maiden's appearance, all they saw was a dense fog. Zhuan unintentionally glanced at the Holy Maiden of the demon region. His body suddenly froze and he suddenly stood up. Zhuan's strange behavior did not attract the attention of the other experts in the restaurant because there were people in the restaurant who were even worse than him. They only laughed at Zhuan's lack of composure. Zhuan's eyes were tightly fixed on the Holy Maiden of the demon region standing beside Dong Huangtai. More accurately, he was staring at the Holy Maiden's back. This was because the feeling this back gave him was too familiar. It was a back that he would never forget in his life. Chen Shui. She is Chen Shui. Zhuan excitedly walked out of the restaurant. At this moment, Dong Huangtai nodded at Wu Jiyan and Wu Ji Miao on the Flying Divine Artifact. He activated the Flying Divine Artifact and instantly disappeared from Witch God City. Dong Huangtai's Flying Divine Artifact was too fast. It was as if he had jumped through space. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared from Witch God City. However, the moment Dong Huangtai and the others left, Yuan instantly flew out of Witch God City and chased after Dong Huangtai. This guy is a little stupid. Is he planning to chase after the people from the demon region? Could it be that he has been mesmerized by the Holy Maiden of the demon region? I think so. Didn't you see the way this fool looked at the Holy Maiden? His eyes were fixed on her. He is really lustful. Isn't he afraid that the people from the demon region will kill him? Zhuan's actions of chasing out of Witch God City were naturally known by the entire city. Everyone laughed at him, thinking that Zhuan was a toad lusting after a swan. After an hour, Zhuan came to a stop. His face was a little pale. This was because he had lost Dong Huangtai and the others. He had to admit that Dong Huangtai's Flying Divine Artifact was not simple. It was definitely a top-notch Great Heaven Grade Flying Divine Artifact. It was much stronger than most Great Heaven Grade Flying Divine Artifacts. Zhuan's space-time roulette was very ordinary. Its speed was probably not even comparable to the average Great Heaven Grade Flying Divine Artifact. It was not surprising that he had lost track of it. Zhuan stopped in his tracks. His eyes flickered. He felt that the Holy Maiden of the demon region's back was too similar to Mu Qinshui. Could it be that the Holy Maiden of the demon region was Mu Qinshui? When he thought of this possibility, Yuan suddenly laughed at himself. He felt that it was not very possible. After all, Mu Qinshui was a human. She was fundamentally different from the demon region. He did not believe that Dong Huangtai would make a human the Holy Maiden of the demon region. However, the Holy Maiden of the demon region's back kept lingering in his mind. He could not get rid of it. I'd better go check out the Phoenix people. Chapter 3404. Back to the slaughtering heaven territory. Zhuan went to Phoenix Blood City, and the news he received made him very disappointed. Great Clan Elder Mu Yu and Third Clan Elder En Yen were indeed dead. They were killed by the Saintess of the demon region. It was said that they had offended the Saintess of the demon region, and that was why they were killed. Zhuan knew that there was no clue about Mu Qinshui's death. At this moment, he could only go to the old site of the Heavenly Armor Star where Great Elder Mu Yu and the others had visited. Perhaps he could find some clues there. It's time to leave the Great Desolate Heaven territory. Zhuan left the Phoenix Blood City, heading to the Devouring Clan's territory. He remembered clearly that the mysterious passage connecting the Great Desolate Heaven territory and the Xianmi Heaven territory wasn't far from the Devouring Clan's territory. If he wanted to use that passage to leave the Great Desolate Heaven territory, he had to go through the Devouring Clan. If he went to the Devouring Clan, he could set up a stronger formation for the Devouring Clan. No matter what, he had used the identity of a member of the Devouring Clan to travel in the Great Desolate Heaven territory. Moreover, he had stirred up a lot of trouble. He was afraid that the Sorcerer Clan would find the Devouring Clan. If the Devouring Clan didn't have a strong formation, they would be done for. A figure was sitting cross-legged on the city wall of the Devouring Clan's main city. His eyes were resolute as he was cultivating. Many young members of the devouring clan in the tribe showed their respect and admiration when they saw him. Wuyodeji is so strong, but he's still working hard. We have to work harder. We can't be lazy in our cultivation. Wuyodeji said that he would lead the devouring clan back to the peak. He's working hard for our clan. We should contribute to our clan. We have to work harder. Many juniors of the devouring clan were encouraged when they saw Wuyo's back. They had made up their minds to cultivate harder to revive the devouring clan. Will, long time no see. You've progressed fast. You're at the half-step creator realm now. While Secludeless was cultivating, a slightly mocking voice came from behind him. Shocked, Secludeless opened his eyes and quickly turned around, throwing a punch behind him. But very quickly, Secludeless discovered that his right fist seemed to have hit a wave, and he could not help but retreat. Only then did he clearly see the true face of the figure that appeared in front of him, and his pupils abruptly shrank. Lord Jun. Secludeless was shocked, but soon he revealed a look of ecstasy. He knelt on one knee and cupped his fists toward Jun. His eyes were full of excitement as he said in a deep voice, "Secludeless greets Lord Tun. Get up. I can see that your aura is vigorous, and your aura is as vast as the sea. You've probably already broken through to the God of Creation stage, right?" Zhuowen said with a smile. "Master Jun, I have indeed attempted to break through to the God of Creation stage twice, but I failed both times. Take this bottle of Genesis pills. The next time you break through, use the Genesis pills. Then you will be able to break through smoothly. It's impossible to fail." Zhuowen took out a jade bottle and handed it to Secludeless. Secludeless took the jade bottle and thanked Zhuowen excitedly. "Take me to see Yu Lu first," said Zhuowen. Secludeless naturally didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly led Zhuowen to the main hall of the main city. When Yu Lu saw Zhuowen, his face flushed with excitement. Zhuowen chatted with him for a while, then told him his next plan. When Yu Lu heard that Zhuowen planned to leave the primitive heavenly domain, his eyes dimmed. At the same time, when he knew that Zhuowen was Longwen, he felt as if he had been hit hard. Although he had guessed it earlier, Zhuowen had personally confirmed it. He was still shaken to the core. However, after confirming that Zhuowen was Longwen, Yu Lu supported Zhuowen's decision to leave the primitive heavenly domain. Although the rumor had it that Longwen had self-detonated, what Zhuowen had done was too big. If he stayed in the primitive heavenly domain, there was a big possibility that he would be exposed. In the next 10 days, Zhuowen arranged more than 10 grand formations around the devouring clan's territory. Zhuowen's formation skills had improved a lot. After all, he had been studying the true alchemy array record. His alchemy Dao and array Dao were always in a state of improvement. After arranging the grand formations, Zhuowen bid farewell to Yu Lu and Secludeless, leaving the devouring clan's territory. He came to the Golden Prairie where he had been teleported. He found the original location and quietly sensed the remnant aura of the teleportation here. He began to collect the aura of the teleportation and began to arrange the teleportation formation here. He was helpless. That Black King was too unreliable. He had teleported him to the wrong place, but he hadn't even given him a way to contact him. If he wanted to go back, he couldn't contact the Black King, let alone ask the Black King to teleport him back. Fortunately, he was a transcending heaven-grade divine array master. He could deduce the path of the teleportation from the original location. Then, he could use the array Dao to reconnect with the path of the teleportation and return. It took Zhuowen 10 days and 10 nights to deduce the path of the teleportation. After all, it had been a long time since the teleportation. The traces of the teleportation were faint, which made it difficult for Zhuowen to deduce. Fortunately, he didn't fail his mission. Eventually, he found the path of the teleportation and set up a stable teleportation formation here. Setting up the teleportation formation was fast. After 15 minutes, Zhuowen activated the teleportation formation and disappeared from the Golden Prairie. When Zhuowen opened his eyes, he found himself in a dense forest covered in black mist. At the same time, this dense forest was filled with sharp and powerful sword energy. The sword energy was like a hidden weapon that could easily cut a creature's body and smash it into powder. However, when the sword energy fell on Zhuowen's body, It emitted the sound of metal clashing. Unexpectedly, it couldn't leave a single mark on Zhuowen's body. Seems like I've returned to the Forbidden Dead Mountain. Zhuowen's eyes were strange. When he had left the Slaughter Heavenly Domain, he had used the Forbidden Dead Mountain to leave. Now that he had returned, he had actually returned to the Forbidden Dead Mountain. However, the sword energy that had troubled him back then was not worth mentioning to him now. It couldn't even tickle him. "Human, it's you." Suddenly, a familiar voice attracted Zhuowen's attention. Zhuowen looked over and saw a golden mouse. At the same time, beside the golden mouse was an exotic beast with the head of a tiger and the body of a human. In addition to these two exotic beasts, there were two other exotic beasts whose auras were no weaker than these two. These two exotic beasts were the dog-headed man and the minotaur. These four exotic beasts' auras were very powerful. They were actually at the mid-level of the Master of Heaven level. Zhuowen looked at the golden mouse and the tiger-headed exotic beast with a surprised expression. This was because he wasn't unfamiliar with these two exotic beasts. They were actually two of the 7 Master of Heaven level exotic beasts that had pursued him after he had obtained the Candle Dragon Goo worm in the Forbidden Dead Mountain. He remembered that the golden mouse was called Devouring Gold, and the tiger-headed exotic beast was called Stone Tiger. The other two exotic beasts were also two of the 7 Master of Heaven level exotic beasts that had pursued him back then. At this moment, when the 4 exotic beasts saw Zhuowen, they were first shocked, then wild joy and violence appeared on their faces. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. He turned to look at the 4 exotic beasts and said indifferently, "You've come at the right time. I'm not very familiar with the Forbidden Dead Mountain and don't know the way out, so I can ask you guys." "Huh, is there something wrong with your head? I think it's better for you to ask the King of Hell about this kind of question." Chapter 3405. Meeting the golden rat again. The moment the golden rat made its move, the other 3 exotic beasts, led by the tiger head and human body, all wore mocking smiles on their faces as they looked at Zhuowen calmly. Back then, when Zhuowen was in the Forbidden Death Mountain range, they clearly remembered that this human was chased by them like a stray dog. If it weren't for the fact that he had injured the golden rat with Ho Yi's divine arrow, he wouldn't have been a match for any of them. Ever since Gold Devourer was injured by this human, he had a fortuitous encounter. He swallowed a heaven and earth treasure and his cultivation base increased rapidly. He has reached the peak of the middle stage of the Tongtian Master Realm and is not far from the late stage of the Tongtian Master Realm. This human is dead for sure. The tiger-headed human-bodied stone tiger grinned coldly. "Hee, I heard that this human obtained the secret of the altar. If Gold Devourer kills this human, he might just take away his corpse. We have to be careful." The Minotaur sneered and winked at the dog-headed stone tiger. Hu and the dog-headed man naturally understood. They chuckled and instantly spread out, surrounding Zhuowen in 2 different directions. Zhuowen naturally noticed the actions of Hu and the other 2 strange beasts, and the corners of his mouth curled up. It was very cold and carried a trace of disdain. Boom! At this moment, the golden rat had already arrived in front of him. Blazing golden light burst out, overflowing with colorful lights. The aura of the golden rat also rose sharply, reaching the peak of the middle stage of the Tongtian Master Realm in an instant. A powerful aura swept around the golden rat like a storm. "Come, tremble. Even if you kneel before me now, it's useless because I will still tear you apart and destroy you. Then I will take everything from you. This is the price you have to pay for your despicable sneak attack on me." The golden rat was very proud. It suddenly struck out with its right claw. Golden light overflowed and soared into the sky. The golden light condensed into a huge claw and slapped down at Zhuowen's head. This claw was too terrifying. It was as if it could blast all matter into nothingness and annihilate them into powder. Zhuowen was very calm. He stood where he was and slowly reached out with his right hand, turning it into the shape of a palm. It was very gentle and very leisurely as it reached out towards the incoming claw. "Kiki, you're courting death." When the golden rat saw Zhuowen being so arrogant, it laughed even louder. It immediately increased the strength in its hands, and the golden light became even more dazzling. It was as if it could cover the entire sky, making it a dazzling sight. Boom! The claws of the golden rat finally came into contact with Zhuowen's palm, upon which an unprecedentedly terrifying light erupted. Then, the golden rat's expression changed because its claws stopped advancing the moment they touched Zhuowen's palm. Then, countless cracks appeared on his palm. Rumble! The golden palm exploded, and Zhuowen's palm shot out like lightning, landing on the chest of the golden rat. The golden rat screamed in agony. Its chest had been punctured, and golden blood splattered in the air. It was a mournful and eerie sight. How is this possible? You're actually so powerful? The golden rat spat out a mouthful of blood and stared at Zhuon with incredulity in its eyes. Back when it was chasing after Zhuon in the Forbidden Mountain area, it had suffered at the hands of Zhuon, but that was only because Zhuon had used his final trump card. Furthermore, Zhuon was in a very sorry state at that time, and he had only managed to injure it after expending a tremendous amount of effort. After the golden rat escaped that calamity, it had obtained a fortuitous encounter, and its cultivation base had increased by another level. It had almost become a tyrant in the Forbidden Mountain area. This time, it was very confident that this human would definitely die when it encountered him again. This was because it was no longer what it used to be, and this human was still alive. However, it did not expect this human to be even more terrifying. He had improved even more than it had, and he had severely wounded it with just one strike. This was a completely one-sided battle. You'd better ask the King of Hell about this question. Zhuowen's eyes were still calm, as if defeating this golden rat did not give him much of a sense of accomplishment. It was very normal. Seeing Zhuowen's expression, the golden rat's eyes were filled with humiliation. It had never been looked down upon like this before. It was as if it was a piece of trash that was not cared about at all. Human, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. The golden rat roared, and then a terrifying golden light burst out from its body. Immediately after, a terrifying explosion swept over and instantly enveloped Zhuon. The stone tiger and the other two exotic beasts, who were originally surrounding the golden rat, were all in disbelief when they saw that it had been severely wounded with just one strike. Then they were shocked and terrified. Only then did they realize that the human who had been chased by them back then had actually become so powerful and terrifying. However, they soon realized that when the golden rat self-destructed, their expressions changed drastically, and they immediately retreated. Boom! The explosion set off a terrifying shockwave that swept out. The three exotic beasts, who had just retreated, were immediately affected by the shockwave and were sent flying. Red blood flowed out of the corners of their mouths, and their faces were pale and bloodless. They looked very unsightly. I really didn't expect that Gold Devourer would choose to self-destruct. He had a high chance of advancing to the late stage of the Sky-Reaching Master. It was also unexpected that he would self-destruct just like that. The Tauren suppressed his injuries and muttered to himself, "That human is too powerful. Gold Devourer will definitely die." It's understandable that he chose to self-destruct because he was unwilling to accept it. But this human, under such a terrifying self-destruction, I'm afraid he's dead for sure. The dog-headed man frowned slightly and said with some displeasure. He knew that this human had once obtained the secret of the altar. Now that Gold Devourer had self-destructed, his body and soul had been destroyed, and all the secrets had been turned into dust. What a pity! The stone tiger also felt a little regretful. He naturally did not feel sorry for Zhuowen's death, but for the secret that Zhuon had obtained from the altar to be scattered with the wind. What are you feeling sorry for? A cold voice came from the core of the explosion. Immediately after, a figure slowly walked out of the explosion's golden light. The stone tiger's body stiffened and his eyes widened. He immediately saw the figure walking out of the explosion leisurely. Human? You're not dead? The stone tiger rubbed his eyes, thinking that he had seen wrongly. At this moment, Zhuowen's body was crystal clear, as if it had been carved out of the most perfect jade. He slowly walked over, and the aura on his body was as vast as the sea. The surrounding explosive energy blasted onto Zhuowen's body, but it didn't leave a single mark on his jade-like body. Zhuowen's Pangu's sacred body had reached the peak of the 8-star level. His body was absolutely terrifying and unparalleled. It was incredible. Chapter 3406. Fury Front. The instant Zhuowen walked out leisurely from the explosion site, the faces of Shi Hu and the other two beasts became extremely unsightly, and they all fled at the same time. Do you think you can escape? Zhuowen sneered and took a step forward. The air exploded, and the terrifying space-time force spread out. Instantly, the surrounding space was sealed, and the terrifying sword chi that filled the surroundings also stopped moving, floating in the air as if it was still. The three beasts that were originally fleeing were immediately affected by the sealed space, and their speed of escape became extremely slow. Hun slowly walked over in the air, condensing sky-splitting blades in each of his hands, and threw them at the dog-headed man and the Minotaur. The dog-headed man and Minotaur only had time to scream before their entire bodies were cut open by the sky-splitting blades. Their bodies and souls were destroyed, and they couldn't be more dead. Shi Hu's face became pale, and cold sweat flowed down from his forehead. He looked at Yun, who slowly walked over, and his entire body trembled. He knelt on the ground with a plop and begged for mercy. "Sir, spare my life. Shi Hu is willing to be your ox or horse, and will do anything for you." Shi Hu abandoned his dignity and knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. He had spent too much time and effort to cultivate to his current level, and it was really not worth it to die like this. "I just said, I'm not very familiar with the Forbidden Death Mountain area, and I need someone to lead the way for me. I didn't want to make a move at first, but you guys attacked me without saying anything and wanted to harm me. I had no choice but to make a move." Yun came to Shi Hu's side and shook his head, looking as if he expected better from Shi Hu. Shi Hu looked at Zhuowen's appearance and cursed in his heart. "You decisively killed the golden mouse. Which part of you is asking for directions?" Of course, Shi Hu naturally didn't dare to say this. He hurriedly said with a fawning smile, "Sir is right, it's our fault for not understanding the situation. I'm willing to lead the way for you, sir. I'm very familiar with the Forbidden Death Mountain area. It would have been great if the three of them had been as sensible as you. Otherwise, such a bloody incident wouldn't have happened. I'm not an unreasonable person." Yun shook his head and said helplessly. After he finished speaking, he removed the shackles on the surrounding space-time. Shi Hu instantly felt his body lighten, and he regained complete freedom of movement. However, Shi Hu did not dare to run away. He stood obediently by Zhuowen's side, lowering his head and not daring to make the slightest fuss. "Lead the way. As long as you bring me out of the Forbidden Death Mountain range, I will set you free." "I won't touch you," Zhuowen said indifferently. Shi Hu was pleasantly surprised. After hurriedly assuring Zhuowen, he led Zhuowen in a certain direction in the Forbidden Death Mountain range. When Zhuowen entered the Forbidden Death Mountain range, he walked all the way up, but he knew that going up the mountain was easier than going down. He was currently at the top of the Forbidden Death Mountain range. If he wanted to leave this Forbidden Death Mountain range, he definitely could not find the right way out. This Shi Hu was a creature of the Forbidden Death Mountain range. He was definitely more familiar with the Forbidden Death Mountain range than him. Shi Hu indeed did not disappoint Zhuowen. Under Shi Hu's lead, Zhuowen successfully found the exit of the Forbidden Death Mountain range. However, at the exit of the Forbidden Death Mountain range, there was a stone tablet erected. This stone tablet contained terrifying sword chi energy. Only by blocking the attack blasted out by the stone tablet could he successfully leave the Forbidden Death Mountain range. With Zhuowen's current strength, it was simply too easy for him to block the sword chi attack blasted out by the stone tablet. Hence, he passed through the exit very smoothly. Shi Hu looked at the figure that disappeared at the exit and let out a light sigh. He muttered to himself, "Finally sent this malefic star away." Shi Hu wanted to cry but had no tears. He felt that every time he encountered this human, nothing good would happen. The last time was like that. This time was also like that. He decided that as long as he saw this human in the future, he would immediately run away and never dare to have any crooked ideas again. After leaving the Forbidden Death Mountain range, Jun flew towards Hongxian God City based on his memory. He had already left the Massacre Heavenly region for a period of time. He wondered how Mei Ying and Mei Su were doing. This time, he intended to help them leave the Massacre Heavenly Region and return to the primitive Heavenly Region. After all, he had already prepared a teleportation array when he entered the Massacre Heavenly Region. However, the teleportation array was in the Forbidden Death Mountain range. As long as he could find Mei Ying and Mei Su, entering the Forbidden Death Mountain range would not be a problem. As Zhuan gradually approached Hong Xian God City, he saw a figure in front of him. This figure was in a sorry state. He was covered in wounds as though he was being chased. Behind this figure, there were also several figures. These figures were filled with killing intent. It was obvious that they were the ones who were chasing after this person. Originally, Zhuan did not intend to meddle in other people's business. However, when he saw the figure covered in wounds, he had no choice but to interfere. This was because this figure was the guardian of Hong Xian God City, Ying Jie. He was the second most powerful person in Hong Xian God City, second only to Mei Ying. However, Ying Jie was being chased until he was half dead. The injuries on his body were too severe. It seemed as though he would die at any moment. Lord Zhu, why are you here? Guardian Ying Jie, who was running for his life, saw Zhuan. When he saw Zhuan's face, he could not help but stop in his tracks. His face was filled with surprise and curiosity. Ying Jie, go to hell. Seeing that Ying Jie had stopped moving, the several figures that were chasing after Ying Jie all launched fatal attacks. The terrifying attacks were directed at Ying Jie. At the same time, they also enveloped Zhuan. Zhuan's eyes were cold. These people did not even ask him and actually attacked him. This was a little too much. Zhuan snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Streams of energy burst out. The figures did not even have the ability to resist and were directly pierced through by the streams of energy. They screamed miserably and died without a doubt. Zhuan did not care about the figures that he had killed. He looked at Ying Jie and asked, Guardian Ying Jie, what is going on? Why are you being chased? These people seem to be from the human race. Are they from the Quiet Sun Divine City? Speaking of the Quiet Sun Divine City, Yun felt a little strange. The city lord of the Quiet Sun Divine City, Qi Gaoming, and the Array Dao Divine Master, Zhou Xiuwei, were both his followers. They should not be messing around. Why would they send people to kill Ying Jie? Lord Zhuan, you are really back. This is great. I beg you to save our city lord and Miss Mei Su. Ying Jie was very emotional. He actually knelt down. Protector Ying Jie, please get up first and tell me what exactly happened. I just returned to the Massacre Celestial Domain. I have no idea what happened. Zhuan was still confused. Ying Jie calmed down and began to narrate everything that had happened in the Massacre Celestial Domain. Chapter 3407. Mei Su in distressed Zhuan's eyes were filled with rage, and his expression was extremely unfriendly. After listening to Ying Jie's explanation, Zhuan learned about everything that had happened in the Massacre Heavenly Domain after he had left. It turned out that after he entered the Forbidden Death Mountain range, Mei Ying, Qi Gaoming, and Zhou Xiuwei returned one after another. Mei Ying returned to the Dark Rock Divine City. This divine city was personally conquered by Zhuan and was temporarily managed by Mei Ying. As for Mei Ying's Hong Xian Divine City, it was jointly managed by Great Guardian Ying Jie and Mei Su. Qi Gaoming and Zhou Xiuwei returned to the Quiet Sun Divine City. After a few days, an earth-shattering cry came from the Forbidden Death Mountain range. It completely stirred up the entire Massacre Heavenly region and attracted the attention of all living beings in the Massacre Heavenly region. Everyone knew that it was the Mountain Soul's cry from the Forbidden Death Mountain range. When the Mountain Soul's cry resounded, it meant that someone had broken through the Forbidden Death Mountain range and left the Massacre Heavenly region. This was because the Purple Star Sovereign had left the Massacre Heavenly region the last time the Mountain Soul's cry sounded. It was no exception this time. Most of the living beings in the Massacre Heavenly region knew why the Mountain Soul's cry sounded. They knew that Immortal Master Zhuo had successfully left the Massacre Heavenly region. Mei Ying, who was overseeing the Dark Rock Divine City, and Mei Su, who was in Hong Xian Divine City, were overjoyed when they heard the Mountain Soul's cry. They knew that Zhuan had successfully left the massacre heavenly region. They were happy, disappointed, and melancholy at the same time. Qi Gaoming and Zhou Xiuwei, who were in the quiet Sun Divine City, were shocked. However, they quickly regained their composure and sneered coldly. They began to cultivate in seclusion. Initially, the massacre heavenly region was peaceful. However, when Qi Gaoming and Zhou Xiuwei came out of seclusion, the situation in the massacre heavenly region changed. With the help of Zhuo Wen's divine pills, Qi Gaoming had successfully broken through to the mid-stage of Heaven Ascension Master. Zhou Xiuwei, on the other hand, had also obtained the experience of Earth Array Dao from Zhuo Wen and had finally broken through to the Heaven Ascension Master level. After the two of them came out of seclusion, they immediately provoked Mei Ying, who was in Dark Rock Divine City. They thought that they were Zhuo Wen's followers, and the Dark Rock Divine City was conquered by Zhu. Who was Mei Ying? How could he be qualified to guard the Dark Rock Divine City and claim that he wanted to take it back? Mei Ying was infuriated. He reprimanded Qi Gaoming for his treachery and defiance of Zhuo Wen's will. Unfortunately, Mei Ying's words did not have any effect on Qi Gaoming. Instead, Qi Gaoming made a false accusation against him. As for Qi Gaoming, he led his army and began to attack Dark Rock Divine City. Mei Ying had also obtained Zhuo Wen's divine pill, so her cultivation had also advanced to the middle stage of the Heavenly Master realm, and her strength was even above Qi Gaoming's. However, Qi Gaoming was not alone. He had Zhou Xiuwei, a heaven-reaching formation master, by his side. When the two armies clashed, Dark Rock Divine City was utterly defeated. With the help of Qi Gaoming's powerful formation Dao, the army of Dark Rock Divine City was completely crushed. Even though Mei Ying managed to completely suppress Qi Gaoming in the battle, he was eventually lured into the Heaven Pass level killing formation that Zhou Xiuwei had set up beforehand by Qi Gaoming. Mei Ying was no match for the killing formation's might, and Qi Gaoming managed to find a flaw in it and captured him alive. In the end, Qi Gaoming completely conquered the Dark Rock Divine City, and Mei Ying was imprisoned by him in secret. After Qi Gaoming conquered the Dark Rock Divine City, he immediately announced that Mei Ying was treacherous. She had occupied two divine cities and wanted to rule the entire massacre heavenly domain. She had wild ambitions and she deserved to be punished. Qi Gaoming declared that in order to stop Mei Ying's faction's ambitions, he planned to conquer Mei Ying's headquarters, Hongxian Divine City, to stop the evil intentions of Mei Ying's faction. The living beings of the massacre heavenly domain were not stupid. They knew that the one who wanted to rule the massacre heavenly domain was not Mei Ying, but Qi Gaoming himself. However, Qi Gaoming controlled two divine cities, countless armies, and his own powerful strength. He also had the support of a heaven-reaching formation master. He was already invincible in the entire massacre heavenly domain. Even though the living beings of the massacre heavenly domain knew that Qi Gaoming was ambitious, they did not dare to show it. Most of them were just bystanders. Even though the Hongxian God City's foundation was much stronger than the Dark Rock Divine City, the only heaven-piercing master expert, Mei Ying, had already been captured alive by Qi Gaoming. Naturally, the Hongxian God City wasn't a match for Qi Gaoming's army and was easily defeated. After Qi Gaoming's army charged into Hongxian Divine City, they massacred everyone in the city, regardless of whether they were old or weak. After a bloody battle, Jie finally broke through the encirclement and escaped Hongxian Divine City. However, there were still a few experts in Qi Gaoming's army who chased after him. If he had not coincidentally met Zhuo Wen, Jie's final ending would have been to be caught up by these experts and killed. His ending would have been very miserable. Is Qi Gaoming in Hongxian Divine City? Zhuo Wen suppressed his anger and asked Jie. Jie sighed and said, Lord Zhuo, Qi Gaoming is still in Dark Rock Divine City. The one leading the army is Zhou Xiuwei. How is Miss Mei Su? Zhuo Wen continued to ask. Mei Su was not strong and had a pure and kind nature. Zhuo Wen was worried that Mei Su would be hurt in this battle. Miss Mei Su was captured by Zhou Xiuwei. I was unable to protect Miss Mei Su. I am ashamed. Jie lowered his head and said in shame. This has nothing to do with you. Zhou Xiuwei's array Dao is very strong. You won't be able to break through it. Since Mei Su was captured by him, you won't be able to save her. Now, follow me to Hongshen Divine City. Qi Gaoming and Zhou Xiuwei are really something. They actually did this when I wasn't around. This is really out of my expectations. Zhuan looked in the direction of Hongshen Divine City and narrowed his eyes. Terrifying killing intent burst out uncontrollably from his body. Ying Jie, who was standing behind Zhuan, felt the terrifying killing intent coming from Zhuan. His body trembled, but soon, his eyes were filled with excitement. He knew how powerful Zhuan was. He believed that with Zhuan's strength, saving Mei Su and Mei Ying shouldn't be a problem. His only concern was whether it was Qi Gaoming or Zhou Xiuwei. Both of them had huge armies under their control. After all, Zhuan was alone. Would he be a match for such a huge army? In Hongshen Divine City, in the City Lord's Hall, Zhou Xiuwei looked down at Mei Su, whose limbs were tied up. Zhou Xiuwei sized Mei Su up and grinned. Miss Mei Su, I remember that you have a close relationship with our Lord Zhua. Before Lord Zhua left, he must have given you a lot of good things. Now, hand them over. Those are Lord Zhua's things, not yours. Zhou Xiuwei shamelessly spread his hands at Mei Su, intending to forcefully take the things that Zhuan had given to Mei Su. Chapter 3408. Zhou Xiuwei was scared out of his wits. Zhou Xiuwei sneered, Miss Mei Su, I've been very polite to you. I'm giving you face by asking for Master Zhua's things. If you don't want to give me face, that's fine too. There are still many captives in the Castellan mansion and I'll kill one every 2 hours. Until you agree to my position. Zhou Xiuwei snorted in his heart. He had investigated and found out that Yuan had given Mei Su a lot of Crimson Moon Starwave milk. That was a heaven-level divine herb, extremely precious. He had searched Mei Su's body and did not find any Crimson Moon Starwave milk in her spiritual ring. He knew that Mei Su had hidden the Crimson Moon Starwave milk. Sure enough, Mei Su's body trembled when she heard Zhou Xiuwei's threat. Her watery eyes were filled with tears as if she was about to cry. Zhou Xiuwei looked at Mei Su in silence and smiled. Miss Mei Su, it seems that in your heart, the people in the Castellan mansion can't even compare to the Crimson Moon Starwave milk. With that, Zhou Xiuwei waved his hand. Immediately, his subordinates brought in a disheveled figure from outside. Like Mei Su, this figure's limbs were tied up and his face was filled with fear. Kill him, Zhou Xiuwei said without hesitation. His men were meticulous in their work. They held a large blade and slashed down. The figure did not even struggle before his head was separated from his body and his divine soul dissipated. This is the first one. Miss Mei Su, we're not in a hurry. There are many people in the Castellan mansion. Killing one in 2 hours is enough for many days. Take your time and think about it. There's no need to rush. Zhou Xiuwei laughed happily when he saw Mei Su lying on the ground in fear. No. Zhou Xiuwei, I beg you to let them go. I'll tell you where the Crimson Moon Starwave milk is kept. Mei Su pleaded. That's right. Save me the trouble. Tell me, as long as you tell me, I won't let the people in the Castellan mansion suffer. Zhou Xiuwei said with his eyes lit up. There is a passageway under the bed in my room. It leads to a secret room. The Scarlet Moon Starwave milk that Big Brother Zhua gave me is in that secret room. Mei Su said weakly as her head drooped. Zhou Xiuwei was proud as he ordered Mei Su's men. Soon his men returned. They there and their men and Mei Su, there was indeed a secret room under Mei Su. And they, there, 3 jade bottles. When Zhou Xiuwei received the 3 jade bottles, he first opened the cork of one of the jade bottles. Instantly, an extremely dense medicinal power gushed out. Furthermore, it was accompanied by multicolored light that instantly filled the entire hall. And is. The moment they smelled the fragrance, they felt as if their internal organs had been reborn. It was too comfortable. Zhou Xiuwei immediately closed the bottle stopper and opened the other 2 jade bottles one after another. They were also gushing with multicolored light, and the medicinal efficacy was astonishing. T.S. He knew that he had struck it rich. He had obtained 3 bottles of the Crimson Moon Starwave milk. Every drop of the Crimson Moon Starwave milk was priceless. The value of 3 bottles of the Crimson Moon Starwave milk was immeasurable. Everyone in the main hall found it hard to calm down. When they smelled the fragrance, they knew that the thing in the jade bottle was extremely beneficial to them. It could allow them to rapidly advance. However, they did not dare to act rashly as Zhou Xiuwei was their leader. He was a divine array master with a high status. None of you are allowed to tell anyone about the Crimson Moon Starwave milk. If anyone dares to, I'll make them wish they were dead. Of course, I'll give each of you a drop of the Crimson Moon Starwave milk as a reward for keeping it a secret. Zhou Xiuwei looked at everyone in the main hall with hostility. They nodded and did not dare to disobey Zhou Xiuwei. When Mei Su saw that Zhou Xiuwei had obtained the 3 jade bottles, she quickly said, "Zhou Xiuwei, now that you've obtained the items, shouldn't you let the people of the Castellan mansion go?" Zhou Xiuwei glanced at Mei Su and chuckled, "Let them go? Young Mistress Mei Su, you're too naive. Qi Gaoming has already given the order to kill everyone in Hongxian Divine City except for you. No one is to be spared. Since Qi Gaoming has given the order, how would I dare to disobey it? Am I right?" Mei Su's body stiffened. She looked at Zhou Xiuwei in disbelief and said, "Are you going to break your promise?" "Miss Mei Su, you're mocking me. I didn't break my promise. I said that I won't let your people suffer. I'll make them die a painful death. Didn't you understand what I meant? But it doesn't matter. Now you should understand what I meant." Zhou Xiuwei revealed a cunning smile. "Zhou Xiuwei, you'll die a horrible death." Mei Su was so angry that her body trembled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with helplessness. Unfortunately, Zhou Xiuwei didn't care about Mei Su's feelings. He gave the order to kill everyone in the city lord's mansion. The subordinates in the main hall received the order and walked out of the main hall. They were ready to kill all the people who were tied up outside the main hall. However, as soon as these subordinates walked out of the main hall, a terrifying and vast energy swept over and smashed down fiercely. Instantly, these subordinates were annihilated into powder before they could even let out a scream. Zhou Xiuwei's face changed slightly. He sat up on the main seat and looked at the main hall's entrance with an ugly expression. He could vaguely see 2 figures walking over slowly. "Who are you?" Zhou Xiuwei's body trembled. The attack just now was too terrifying. It gave him a feeling that he couldn't reach them. Zhou Xiuwei knew that the 2 of them must be experts. They might even be stronger than Qi Gaoming. He was cautious and puzzled. Since when did Qi Gaoming and Mei Ying, who were foreign experts, appear in the Massacre Heavenly Domain? "Zhou Xiuwei, I just left the Massacre Heavenly Domain and you can't recognize me." A cold voice resounded in the main hall. It was as loud as a bell and it echoed in the main hall. Zhou Xiuwei's eyes narrowed when he heard the voice. He couldn't believe it. He pointed at the figure in front of him and said, "Are you?" At this moment, the 2 figures had completely entered the main hall. Zhou Xiuwei finally saw their faces. Zhou Xiuwei was very familiar with one of the figures. It was the protector of Hongxian City, Ying Jie. When Zhou Xiuwei saw Ying Jie and the black-clothed youth, he fell to the ground as though he had seen a ghost. Chapter 3409. I'm back. "Ha, Zhou Xiuwei, you have a good memory. You still remember me?" Zhuowen said sarcastically. At this moment, Zhou Xiuwei was frightened. He subconsciously trembled all over. Back then, the deterrence that Zhuowen brought to him was too great. Even now, he was still somewhat affected. That was why he was so shocked when he saw Zhuowen. But soon, Zhou Xiuwei thought of something and calmed down. He took out an array flag and threw it out. Then he formed a seal with both hands. Instantly, the aura of the entire hall changed. A terrifying killing intent filled the entire hall. Battle cries and the neighs of war horses resounded in the hall. The hall was filled with the stench of blood and decay. Ying Jie, who was standing beside Zhuowen, immediately paled when he sensed the terrifying murderous aura around him. He looked nervous, and the terrifying murderous aura made it hard for him to breathe. The moment the array in the hall was activated, Zhou Xiuwei grabbed Mei Su, whose limbs were tied up, and quickly retreated out of the array's range. Mei Su's eyes were filled with joy when she saw Jun. But soon, her joy was replaced by worry. She knew that there was a heaven-piercing array set up by Zhou Xiuwei in the hall. Although she knew that Jun was also a heaven-piercing array master, it would take him a long time to break the array. By that time, Zhou Xiuwei would have gathered all the experts in Hongxian Divine City to encircle and kill Jun. Zhou Xiuwei held Mei Su and stood outside the array. He looked at Jun with a gloomy face and said, "Lord Zhua, didn't you leave the massacre heavenly domain? Why are you here?" Jun looked calm and said, "I just returned from the primitive heavenly domain." "But Zhou Xiuwei, don't you welcome me?" Zhou Xiuwei's eyes flickered. He laughed dryly and said, "If you are really Lord Zhua, I, Zhou Xiuwei, will naturally welcome you. After all, I am Lord Zhua's follower." "But you're a fake." Everyone knew that once they left the slaughter heavenly realm, it was basically impossible to come back. Lord Zhua has already left the massacre sky region. There's no way he can return. You must be the imposter that Jie found, right? But unfortunately, if you want to deceive me, that's just wishful thinking. Zhou Xiuwei spoke very bluntly, as if he was certain that Jun was an imposter. "Zhou Xiuwei, you're twisting the truth. This isn't a fake, he's Master Zhua. Back then, Lord Zhua promoted you and imparted his knowledge of formations to you, allowing you to break through to the heavenly ascension level. Now that you see Lord Zhua again, is this how you slander him?" Jie, who was standing beside Zhuowen, pointed at Zhou Xiuwei and reprimanded him. However, Zhou Xiuwei sneered and said, "Bullshit, Zhuowen. Do you think that you can fool me by finding a fake? How laughable. Since you dared to come here and walk right into my trap, then all of you can die." As he spoke, Zhou Xiuwei formed a seal with both hands. Immediately, the killing formation in the main hall began to operate. In an instant, a terrifying killing energy burst out, forming a blood-red storm that blasted onto Jun and Jie. Mei Su's beautiful eyes widened as she cried out in grief. However, Zhou Xiuwei laughed, a cruel laugh. But soon, Zhou Xiuwei felt that something was wrong. This was because he realized that the formation in front of him was trembling violently. Then, he saw that the formation in front of him was like broken glass, with cracks appearing on its surface. The formation shattered and was annihilated into nothingness. Then, Jun walked out slowly with Jie, looking very calm. "Zhou Xiuwei, you've really matured. Your array Dao has improved a lot, but your brain hasn't," Jun said calmly as he walked over. However, to Zhou Xiuwei's ears, it sounded like the whispers of the Grim Reaper. Zhou Xiuwei rushed out of the main hall with Mei Su in his arms. "Guards, there's an enemy attack." Zhou Xiuwei shouted for help as he rushed out of the main hall, attracting the attention of many cultivators in Hongxian Divine City. "Not good, Immortal Master Zhou is in danger. Let's go." Many cultivators in Hongxian Divine City took out their divine weapons and leaped towards Zhou Xiuwei in an attempt to protect him. Unfortunately, just as they moved, Zhou Xiuwei suddenly covered his head with both hands and let go of Mei Su, who was being held hostage, with a blood-curdling scream. The moment Zhou Xiuwei let go of Mei Su, a black-robed youth walked over slowly and caught Mei Su. At the same time, the black-robed youth grabbed Zhou Xiuwei with his right hand. "It's so painful. Please let me go." Zhou Xiuwei screamed in pain as he covered his head with his hands. His spiritual soul was being destroyed by some kind of energy, and his spiritual soul had turned into a pile of mush. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. His soul was far more powerful than Zhou Xiuwei's. When Zhou Xiuwei was fleeing, he had used the power of his soul to condense an attack and blasted it into Zhou Xiuwei's soul, resulting in Zhou Xiuwei's current state. Of course, Jun didn't use his spiritual soul sword intent. It was just an ordinary spiritual soul attack, which was very crude. The spiritual soul sword intent was too strong, and it was overkill to deal with Zhou Xiuwei. Moreover, even if he had used his spiritual soul sword intent, Zhou Xiuwei would have died on the spot, and he wouldn't have had the chance to struggle. "Thief, let go of Immortal Master Zhou. How dare you hold Immortal Master Zhou hostage? You're courting death." At this moment, the cultivators of Hongxian God City had already rushed over. Their attacks landed on Zhuo Wen's body in a myriad of colors. Unfortunately, these attacks were all blocked by the creation mysterious light the moment they landed on Zhuo Wen's body. They couldn't hurt Zhuo Wen at all. Zhuo Wen casually sent out a palm, and an incomparably huge energy palm descended from the sky. The hundreds of experts at the front were instantly blown to smithereens. This attack completely stunned all the cultivators in Hongxian Divine City. They stood frozen on the spot as if they had been petrified. He had killed hundreds of cultivators with a single palm, and they were all third-step Dao validation experts. It was too terrifying to kill them just like that. Is there anyone else who wants to die? I don't mind throwing out a few more palms. Zhuan looked calm as he spoke leisurely. The crowd responded to Zhuowen by retreating collectively. They looked at Zhuowen in fear, and no one dared to step forward. What a joke! He could easily kill hundreds of cultivators with a single palm. They were still weak, and they would be cannon fodder if they went forward. I'm Zhuowen from back then, and I've returned to the massacre celestial region. Qi Gaoming and Zhou Xiuwei were my followers back then, but they were very disobedient. They acted recklessly when I wasn't around, and they broke the balance of the massacre celestial region, causing many bloodshed. Today, I, Zhuowen, have returned to bring peace to the massacre celestial region. Now I, Zhuowen, want Hongxian Divine City. Those who don't agree can leave Hongxian Divine City. Those who agree, Hongxian Divine City is also willing to accept you. Chapter 34:10. Uneasiness, it can't be. Itzun, the immortal Master Zhua. He's a ruthless man. He even killed the city lord of Dark Rock Divine City and forced the other two city lords to submit to him. He's a legend. Is that true? I remember that immortal Master Zhua left the Slaughter Heaven domain through the Forbidden Death Mountain range. The cry of the mountain soul was heard throughout the entire Slaughter Heaven domain. How could he still be in the Slaughter Heaven domain? Who cares? He's too ruthless and powerful. I don't think Qi Gaoming is a match for him. We'd better not provoke him. All the cultivators in Hongxian Divine City were in a heated discussion. Most of them were suspicious of Zhuowen's identity. Most of them had only heard of Zhuowen's name and had never seen Zhuowen before. Therefore, they were suspicious of Zhuowen's identity. However, the terrifying strength that Zhuowen displayed earlier thoroughly convinced them. They did not care whether this person was the real Zhuowen or not. In any case, he was too powerful and was not an existence that they could casually offend. They only needed to know that. Although most of the cultivators in Hongxian Divine City were in a heated discussion, no one left Hongxian Divine City. Although Zhuowen seemed magnanimous, they didn't dare to disagree with Zhuowen. That would be openly going against this expert. The hundreds of cultivators who were killed by a single palm strike were the clearest examples. Zhuowen was satisfied with the reactions of most of the cultivators in Hongxian Divine City. Then his gaze fell on Zhou Xiuwei, who was in his hand. At this moment, Zhou Xiuwei's eyes had turned white and he was foaming at the mouth. He was delirious. His divine soul was a mess and his body was severely injured. He was in a half-dead state. Zhuowen didn't kill Zhou Xiuwei directly. Instead, he threw him to Ying Jie and let him imprison him. Then he released the shackles on Mei Su. After the shackles on Mei Su's body were released, she threw herself into Zhuo Wen's arms and wept. Zhuowen felt a little awkward. Mei Su possessed the powerful nine-tailed fox bloodline. Not only was she talented, but she was also extremely beautiful. Especially the women of the nine-tailed fox clan. Their figures were extremely beautiful and charming. When Mei Su threw herself into Zhuowen's arms, Yuan was almost affected. His breathing became a little hurried. Mei Su blushed when she felt Zhuowen's rapid breathing, but she didn't leave Zhuowen's embrace. She knew very well that the nine-tailed fox clan's ability to seduce people was extremely strong. Even if she didn't deliberately seduce people, her usual words and actions were mixed with an unusual charm. During this period of time, she had been living in fear. She often thought of Zhuowen and felt wronged. Now that she saw the person she had been thinking about day and night, the grievances in her heart suddenly exploded. Naturally, she could not help herself. Zhuowen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He could feel Mei Su's unusual attitude towards him, but he felt helpless. His heart already belonged to someone else. Naturally, he couldn't place any other feelings on Mei Su. Moreover, his feelings for Mei Su had always been that of an older brother to a younger sister. He had never thought about other feelings. Many cultivators in Hongxian Divine City saw this scene and quickly turned their faces away. They didn't dare to look casually. They discussed animatedly. They seemed to understand why this expert had barged into Hongxian Divine City to target Zhou Xiuwei. Some even lamented that even heroes had a weakness for the charms of a beautiful woman. Ying Jie hurriedly brought the delirious Zhou Xiuwei away from this place. He wanted to give Zhuowen and Mei Su some space. Zhuowen's 5 senses were far better than most cultivators. He naturally heard the crowd's discussion clearly. He also saw Ying Jie's actions. This made his face turn ugly and black lines appear on his forehead. What the hell was going on? Finally, after Mei Su calmed down, she left Zhuowen's embrace with a red face. Big brother Zhua, I lost control of my emotions just now. I hope you don't mind. Mei Su stuttered as she spoke. She looked like a little girl. Zhuowen sighed softly and said, It's okay. Mei Su, you are just like my younger sister. Why would I mind? When she heard Zhuowen's words, Mei Su's face stiffened. However, she quickly returned to normal. However, her beautiful eyes were filled with gloominess. Mei Su, is your mother, Mei Ying, still imprisoned in Dark Rock Divine City? Zhuowen saw Mei Su's strange expression and changed the topic. When Mei Su heard Mei Ying's name, her beautiful eyes turned red again. She sobbed and said, Big brother Zhua, you must save my mother. She was plotted against by Qi Gaoming and is now imprisoned in the dungeon of Dark Rock Divine City. After Mei Su saw Zhuowen's strength, she knew that only Zhuowen could save Mei Ying. Don't worry. Mei Ying is my friend. I will not sit by and do nothing. Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he brought Mei Su into the city lord's mansion. Then, Mei Su began to arrange for her men to regain control of Hongxian Divine City. Most of Zhou Xiuwei's men in Hongxian Divine City had submitted to Mei Su under Zhuowen's forceful methods. They did not dare to say a word against her. After dealing with the matters in Hongxian Divine City, Zhuowen brought Mei Su and the delirious Zhou Xiuwei back to Dark Rock Divine City. As for the matters in Hongxian Divine City, he left it to Ying Jie to deal with. In the city lord's mansion of Dark Rock Divine City, Qi Gaoming was pacing back and forth in the hall with a gloomy expression. Since a while ago, he had been feeling depressed and had a bad premonition. Earlier, he had sent a message to Zhou Xiuwei. However, there had been no response for a long time. This had made the bad feeling in his heart even more intense. Normally, Zhou Xiuwei would reply to his message very quickly. Especially after they had taken down Hongxian Divine City, Zhou Xiuwei had replied almost instantly. But now, there was no news from Zhou Xiuwei. Qi Gaoming suspected that something had happened to Zhou Xiuwei. It shouldn't be. The strongest person in Hongxian Divine City is Ying Jie. It's impossible for him to be a match for Immortal Master Zhou. However, Immortal Master Zhou has not replied to my message for so long. Could it be on purpose? The more Qi Gaoming paced back and forth, the more uneasy he became. Crisp footsteps could be heard from outside the hall. A subordinate rushed into the hall and knelt in front of Qi Gaoming. What's the matter? Qi Gaoming furrowed his brows and asked in an irritable tone. City Lord Qi, someone outside Dark Rock Divine City said that he is looking for you. He said that he will give you 30 breaths of time. If you don't come out, your life will be in danger. The subordinate's voice was filled with anxiety. What? Who is so bold to provoke me? What is his name? Qi Gaoming was enraged when he heard that and questioned the subordinate. That person said that his name is Yun. The subordinate said in a low voice. Ting. Chapter 34:11. Step on you, Zhuowen? You said that the person who wants to see me outside the city is called Zhuowen? Qi Gaoming stepped forward and grabbed his subordinate's shoulders tightly with both hands. His entire body was trembling with excitement. Of course, Qi Gaoming's excitement was not a display of joy. Instead, it was filled with surprise, and his breathing was even more chaotic. To Qi Gaoming, Zhuan was definitely a nightmare that he did not want to have. Originally, he thought that Zhuan would never return after leaving the massacre heavenly region. But now, he actually heard this name again. The fear in his heart for Zhuan once again welled up in his heart. City Lord, that person's name is indeed Zhuan. The subordinate grimaced in pain from Qi Gaoming's grip, and his words were a little disorderly. He did not understand why Qi Gaoming was so excited after hearing this name. All right, you may leave first. After the subordinate left, Qi Gaoming regained his calm, and his gaze immediately became incomparably gloomy. It should be someone with the same name. That Zhuan has only left the massacre heavenly region not long ago, so it's impossible for him to return so quickly. Furthermore, it would be even more difficult for him to return to the massacre heavenly region from the outside world. Qi Gaoming muttered to himself. He was certain that the Zhuan from the outside world was an impostor, and his expression became even uglier. If it's just an impostor, he actually dares to be so arrogant and ask me to leave in 30 breaths of time. He's got some guts. When I go out, I'll definitely break his legs. With that, Qi Gaoming walked towards the city gate of Dark Rock Divine City. City Lord. When Qi Gaoming arrived at the city gate, the cultivators guarding the gate bowed respectfully to Qi Gaoming. Qi Gaoming nodded, and his gaze landed on the two figures outside the city gate. These two figures were a man and a woman. The moment Qi Gaoming saw the man, he immediately lost his calm, because this man actually looked exactly the same as Zhuan. Or rather, it was Zhuan. However, Qi Gaoming quickly calmed down. Like Zhou Xiuwei, he believed that the Zhuan in front of him was an impostor. Your name is Zhuan? Do you know who Zhuan is? Qi Gaoming asked coldly. Yuan and Mei Su stood side by side. Hearing Qi Gaoming's question, Zhuan's gaze suddenly became extremely strange. Before Zhuan could answer, Qi Gaoming spoke again. He said coldly, "In is my master, and I am his follower. You pretended to be my master. Do you really think that I, Qi Gaoming, am easy to bully?" Zhuan's gaze became even stranger. He shook his head and said, "Qi Gaoming, are you playing dumb in front of me? Since you still recognize me as your master, then get down here and apologize." Qi Gaoming looked up to the sky and laughed. He said sarcastically, "You're just a fake. Although you look like my master, I know that you're definitely not my master. Because master has already left the slaughter heaven domain. He is not in the slaughter heaven domain now. Can you use your brain when you're pretending? How dare you pretend to be my master when you don't even know such things?" Zhuan shook his head. He was really defeated by Qi Gaoming's ability to invert right and wrong. He really didn't want to continue arguing with Qi Gaoming. His patience had been exhausted. He picked up the half-dead Zhou Xiuwei from the macro world and threw him at Qi Gaoming. Qi Gaoming didn't react because the speed at which Zhou Xiuwei was thrown was too fast. His gaze was cold as he threw out a punch. The moment his fist hit Zhou Xiuwei, he heard a shrill scream. He knew that the person who was thrown was actually a person. Moreover, this person's scream was extremely familiar. Zhou Xiuwei's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his mind instantly became much clearer. He stared at Qi Gaoming and only had time to say, before he fell heavily to the ground. His breathing was weak, and he couldn't be more dead. Qi Gaoming was stunned. He didn't expect Zhou Xiuwei to be in Zhuan's hands. No wonder Zhou Xiuwei didn't respond when he sent him a message. Looking at Zhou Xiuwei who had died in his hands, Qi Gaoming's eyes instantly turned red. He felt that he had been played, and a sense of humiliation rose in his heart. "You're courting death," Qi Gaoming roared. He took a step forward, jumped down the city wall, and attacked Zhuan. What happened at the city gate had already attracted the attention of many cultivators in Dark Rock Divine City. Many figures floated in the sky above the Divine City, watching Qi Gaoming teach Zhuan a lesson. "This is the first time I've seen the city lord so angry. This person really doesn't know what's good for him. He's going to suffer later. Not only will he suffer, I think he'll be beaten to death by the city lord." Many cultivators in Dark Rock Divine City were watching the battle calmly. In their eyes, this was an unfair battle. Everyone had seen Qi Gaoming's strength with their own eyes. Ever since Mei Ying was defeated by Qi Gaoming, all the cultivators in the Massacre Heavenly Domain subconsciously thought that Qi Gaoming was the strongest in the Massacre Heavenly Domain. Now that a provocative fellow had come, they all subconsciously thought that this person was courting death. Zhuan only raised his hand and easily caught Qi Gaoming's fist. Qi Gaoming struggled with all his might, but he found that he couldn't break free at all. He was shocked and his eyes were filled with fear. He realized that he had underestimated the black-clothed youth in front of him. Qi Gaoming, when I gave you the divine pill to help you break through, I didn't let you invade other divine cities and fulfill your ambitions. I wanted you to be obedient and wait for me to come back. Now that I'm back, you actually question my identity and try to kill me. You're really good, even better than that Zhou Xiuwei. Zhuowen's tone gradually became heavier, and the strength in his hand also increased. Qi Gaoming's right fist immediately cracked. Qi Gaoming let out a blood-curdling scream and immediately cut off his right arm. Then he quickly retreated. He was terrified. Looking at the black-clothed youth in front of him, he revealed a look of disbelief. He understood that the black-clothed youth in front of him was not pretending to be Zhuowen, but Zhuowen himself. However, Qi Gaoming felt that it was inconceivable. How could this Zhuowen return so early? And how did he return? Can you retreat? As Qi Gaoming was retreating, Zhuowen's voice also sounded like the call of the god of death. Following that, Qi Gaoming felt a terrifying force that was as vast as a mountain and impossible to resist acting on Qi Gaoming's body. Qi Gaoming let out a muffled groan and directly smashed face down onto the ground. And the place where Qi Gaoming landed just happened to be in front of Zhuowen. Just as Qi Gaoming was about to struggle up, Zhuowen unceremoniously stomped his right foot down. Chapter 34:12. The entire Dark Rock Divine City was terrifyingly quiet. All the cultivators felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They were stunned on the spot as they watched Zhuowen stomp Qi Gaoming to the ground. From the moment Qi Gaoming made his move to being trampled under Zhuowen's foot, it had only been one move. Qi Gaoming had actually been defeated so cleanly. Since when did City Lord Qi become so weak? He had defeated City Lord Mei Ying before. He can be said to be the strongest person in the Massacre Heavenly region. It's not that City Lord Qi is weak, but this guy called Zhuowen is too strong. City Lord Qi, a mid-stage Tongtian master, was defeated in one move and stomped under his foot. This is definitely not something an ordinary person can do. This person must be a ruthless person who surpasses the mid-stage Tongtian master. You said he's called Zhuowen? I've heard that there was an expert called Zhuowen who killed the City Lord of Dark Rock Divine City and subdued Qi Gaoming, Mei Ying, and other experts. However, he left the Massacre Heavenly region later. Could it be this person? The noise around them grew louder and louder. They began to guess Zhuowen's identity. All of them kept quiet out of fear, and no one dared to help Qi Gaoming. Not to mention Zhuowen's terrifying strength, just Zhuowen's legend in the Massacre Heavenly region was enough to make them lose the will to fight against him. Moreover, a late-stage Tongtian master like Qi Gaoming had been beaten so badly. How could they have the courage to go against a ruthless person like Zhuowen? Qi Gaoming was very sullen. He shouted for the subordinates of Dark Rock Divine City to attack, but unfortunately, no one listened to him. Everyone was intimidated by Zhuowen. Their feet felt as if they were filled with lead, and they didn't dare to step forward. Zhuowen's right leg hooked, and Qi Gaoming involuntarily floated in the air. Soon after, Zhuowen kicked out. Qi Gaoming's chest was fiercely kicked, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he involuntarily flew out. Boom! Qi Gaoming slammed heavily into the wall, creating a human-shaped hole in the wall. His whole body was embedded in the wall. Lord Zhuo, please spare my life. I know I was wrong. Please spare my life. Qi Gaoming's entire body trembled as he spat out these words with great difficulty. He was truly terrified. The Zhuowen in front of him was too strong and too terrifying. He realized that Zhuowen's strength was much stronger than before. In any case, he was at the middle stage of the Master of Heaven Ascension, but he could beat him half to death with a casual wave of his hand. Moreover, Qi Gaoming also knew that Zhuan had shown mercy. With Zhuowen's strength, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill him completely. Since Zhuan had shown mercy, Qi Gaoming knew that Zhuan did not intend to kill him immediately. He still had a chance to survive, so he promptly begged for mercy. "You don't have the right to beg me for mercy. I'll give you a chance now. Hand over Mei Ying, or die." Zhuowen's voice was cold and emotionless. Qi Gaoming nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that Zhuan had not killed him, so he still had a chance to live. Of course, this was on the premise that he performed well enough. "Lord Zhua, I'll bring you to see Mei Ying." Qi Gaoming struggled out of the hole and fell to the ground in a sorry state, gasping for breath. Zhuan walked in front of Qi Gaoming and lifted him up, saying, "Now, show me the way." Qi Gaoming's eyes were filled with humiliation, but he was helpless. He knew that Zhuan was too strong for him to contend with, so he could only show Zhuan the way. Countless cultivators in Dark Rock City stared blankly at the scene in front of them. They saw Zhuan carrying Qi Gaoming and following him step by step into the depths of the city. No one could have imagined that Qi Gaoming, who was usually high and mighty, was being carried by someone with one hand at this moment, as if he was a dog. This scene was indeed a little strange. Qi Gaoming's heart was filled with humiliation and helplessness. Under Qi Gaoming's lead, Yuan easily entered the dungeon of Dark Rock City. The dungeon of Dark Rock City was very spacious. There were basically no prisoners in the cells, so it was gloomy and cold. Mei Ying was locked in a solitary cell in the deepest part of the dungeon. This cell was filled with dirty water. Mei Ying was tied to a rusty cross on the subway. Her shoulder blades were pierced, and the tendons in her arms and legs were cut. Blood flowed continuously from the cross. Her hair was disheveled and her head hung low. Perhaps she heard footsteps, but her head only trembled slightly. She did not even raise her head. Her head was still hung low. "Mother!" Mei Su covered her cherry lips when she saw Mei Ying's miserable state. Her voice was filled with grief and indignation. Mei Ying heard Mei Su's voice and her delicate body trembled. She finally raised her head. It was difficult for her to do so. Her face was covered in blood. However, from the outline of her face that was covered in blood, it was not difficult to see that her face was unparalleled when it was clean. "Su, why are you here? It's dangerous here. You shouldn't be here. Hurry up and leave," Mei Ying said agitatedly. Although Mei Ying was very agitated, her words were weak. It was obvious that she had suffered a lot in this dungeon. Zhuowen glanced coldly at Qi Gaoming, who had his head lowered, and said, "Good job." Then he walked forward and smashed the prison door, crushing the cross and the shackles on Mei Ying. Mei Ying screamed and fell. She was so weak that she did not even have the strength to support her body. However, a strong arm wrapped around her waist to prevent her from falling to the ground. Mei Ying forced herself to turn her head and struggled to break free from the arm. However, when she saw Zhuowen's face, she could not help but be stunned, forgetting to struggle. "Zhuan, why are you here?" Mei Ying's eyes were filled with doubt. Was she hallucinating because of the torture? Zhuan had left the Massacre Sky territory. How could he be here? "I have returned to the Massacre Sky territory." "Mei Ying, don't say anything. Swallow this elixir first." Zhuan stopped Mei Ying, who was about to speak. He handed her a healing elixir and asked her to swallow it. Mei Ying trusted Zhuowen wholeheartedly. He swallowed the healing elixir without hesitation. A warm current flowed through Mei Ying's body. The originally weak Mei Ying was suddenly filled with energy and she looked much better. Mei Ying, who had recovered some of her strength, only then did she realize that Zhuowen's arm was still around her slender waist. Her beautiful face could not help but blush slightly as she moved away from Zhuowen without a trace. Zhuan noticed Mei Ying's actions and laughed dryly. He changed the topic and said, "Mei Ying, I have brought the culprit here. You can deal with Qi Gaoming." Zhuan said to Mei Ying as he pointed at Qi Gaoming, who was lying on the ground behind him. At that moment, Mei Su threw herself into Mei Ying's arms. Her face was covered in tears. She sobbed and said, "Mother, I'm sorry that we were late. You have suffered so much." Mei Ying patted Mei Su's back and sighed, "Su, we have made you worry. Don't cry." Mother is fine now. Chapter 34:13. Asking for someone to lead the way at this moment, Qi Gaoming was trapped by Zhuowen's energy and was lying on the ground. He couldn't break free, let alone escape. City Lord Mei Ying, this is all a misunderstanding. It was Zhou Xiuwei's idea. It has nothing to do with me. Zhou Xiuwei has already been executed by me. City Lord Mei Ying, please be magnanimous and show me mercy. Qi Gaoming was terrified and his heart was about to jump out of his throat. He quickly begged for mercy without any shame. Mei Ying sneered in her heart and said indifferently, "No matter who came up with the idea, I only know that you are the one who has been torturing me all this time. I will only seek revenge from you." With that, Mei Ying's jade-like hand formed a sword and pointed at Qi Gaoming's forehead. Qi Gaoming screamed and his eyes glazed over. His divine soul was completely destroyed and he couldn't be more dead. After killing Qi Gaoming, Mei Ying turned around and knelt on one knee. She cupped her fists at Zhuowen and said, "Immortal Master Zhun, thank you very much. If it wasn't for you, Mei Ying would have fallen here." Zhuowen helped Mei Ying up and said with a smile, "City Lord Mei Ying, you and I are friends. When a friend is in trouble, I will not sit idly by." Then, Mei Su told Mei Ying about her encounter with Yun. This made Mei Ying furious. She originally thought that Qi Gaoming had only subdued Dark Rock Divine City. She didn't expect him to not let Hongxian Divine City go. If it wasn't for Zhuowen, Hongxian Divine City and Mei Su would have fallen. Thinking of this, Mei Ying felt a lingering fear and her gratitude towards Zhuowen grew even stronger. After that, Mei Ying displayed her strength as a strong woman. She reorganized the Dark Rock Divine City as fast as she could. Very soon, the originally chaotic Dark Rock Divine City was restored to order and peace under Mei Ying's control. After Dark Rock Divine City was completely reorganized, Mei Ying sent out an army to attack Quiet Sun Divine City. With Zhuowen's help, the Quiet Sun Divine City was like a chicken or a dog, easily breached. After completely subduing the Quiet Sun Divine City, Mei Ying sent trusted subordinates to guard the Quiet Sun Divine City and Dark Rock Divine City. Then he followed Zhuowen back to Hongxian Divine City with Mei Su. In the main hall of Hongxian Divine City, Mei Ying, Mei Su, and Ying Jie were present. The three of them looked at Zhuowen in shock. Among them, Mei Su asked in disbelief, "Big Brother Zhua, can you really help us leave the Massacre Heavens?" Everyone knew that the only way to leave the Massacre Heavenly Domain was to enter the Forbidden Death Mountain. Moreover, they also knew that the Forbidden Death Mountain range was very dangerous. Even if Mei Ying's cultivation base had broken through to the middle stage of the heaven-reaching master, he still wouldn't dare to enter the Forbidden Death Mountain range alone. She had originally planned to give it a try when she broke through to the late stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm. But now, she really didn't dare to do so. But now, Zhuowen said that he could bring them out of the Massacre Heavens. This really shocked them. However, when they thought about how Zhuowen had not only left the Massacre Heavens but also returned from the outside world, they knew that Zhuowen wasn't lying. Moreover, with Zhuowen's strength, there was no need for him to lie. "If you trust me, I can bring you out of the Massacre Heavenly Domain. However, you must be trustworthy and there can't be too many of you. Go back and make arrangements. Remember, there can't be more than 10 people. If there are too many people, I won't be able to bring them," Zhuowen reminded them. The reason why Zhuowen said this was not because he didn't have the ability to bring more people into the Forbidden Death Mountain, but because he wasn't optimistic about the teleportation array that he had set up temporarily. The teleportation array couldn't transport too many people. After receiving Zhuowen's reminder, Mei Ying, Ying Jie, and the rest went back to make arrangements. 3 days later, at the city gate of Hongxian Divine City, Mei Ying, Mei Su, and Ying Jie had gathered. Besides them, there were 5 people that Zhuowen didn't recognize. The 5 of them were quite young. Judging from their auras, they shouldn't be from the human tribe, but from the foreign tribes of the primitive heavens domain. "Celestial Master Zhua, everything is ready. Are we going to enter the Forbidden Death Mountain?" Mei Ying asked for Zhuowen's opinion. The 5 people behind Mei Ying were all excited. They looked at Zhuowen's back and whispered to each other. Although the five of them didn't speak loudly, Zhuowen's five senses were too strong and he heard their conversation. He's Celestial Master Zhuo. He's so young. And he's quite handsome. He's actually able to stir up the entire massacre heavenly domain. He's a real demonic figure. I'm willing to be his cultivation partner. A beautiful female foreign tribe member said in a love-struck manner. Don't even think about it. Celestial Master Zhuo won't fall for a common woman like you. If you want to be his cultivation partner, you should at least be as pretty as Miss Mei Su. You're still far from that. Another male foreign tribe member snorted. Zhuan was speechless. He didn't continue to listen and blocked his divine perception. Just follow me. Once we reach the Forbidden Death Mountain, someone will come to pick us up. Zhuan nodded and mounted the tall dragon horse. When the rest of the people saw Zhuowen's actions, they all mounted their own dragon horses. Let's go. Zhuowen spoke. Immediately, the group shot out like an arrow that had left a bow, leaving behind a trail of dust. The dragon horses were very fast. In just a day, they were already close to the Forbidden Death Mountain. Zhuowen brought everyone to the foot of a mountain in the Forbidden Death Mountain range and stopped. This was the exit that Zhuowen had used to leave the Forbidden Death Mountain under Shihu's instructions. Naturally, they could enter the Forbidden Death Mountain from here. Zhuowen took out his communication jade charm and sent a message to Shihu. If he didn't come, he would have to bear the consequences. When Shihu received Zhuowen's message, he cursed in his heart. However, there was nothing he could do. He was really afraid of this human. If he didn't go out to pick them up, this human would attack his nest and he would be finished. Thinking of this, Shihu sighed helplessly and left his nest. He went to the place that Zhuowen had instructed him to pick up Zhuowen. At the foot of the mountain, Meiying was curious about Zhuowen who was waiting for them. He asked curiously, Celestial Master Zhuo, aren't we going up directly? Why are we waiting here? The Forbidden Death Mountain's terrain is very complicated. Even I would get lost easily. That's why I invited a strange beast from the Forbidden Death Mountain to guide us. Zhuowen said flatly. What? A strange beast from the Forbidden Death Mountain? I heard that the strange beasts in the Forbidden Death Mountain are extremely terrifying. It is said that there are even some strange beasts at the level of the Master of Heaven. Celestial Master Zhuo, you can actually make the strange beasts in the Forbidden Death Mountain listen to you? Mei Ying's beautiful eyes narrowed as he found it unbelievable. The rest of the people were also surprised. They had all heard of the legend of the Forbidden Death Mountain and knew that the strange beasts in the Forbidden Death Mountain were the most difficult to deal with. Chapter 34:14. Giving away. Although everyone was in disbelief, no one dared to question him. Zhuowen was too powerful and ruthless. They did not dare to question such an expert. Zhuowen saw the doubt in everyone's eyes, but he did not point it out. Instead, he waited silently. He believed that Shihu would not ignore his message. After all, the strength that he had displayed before was too strong. Shihu would not offend him because of this. Sure enough, not long after, the thick black fog at the foot of the mountain dissipated and a figure landed at the foot of the mountain. Mei Ying and the others were waiting in boredom. When the black fog dissipated, they immediately became vigilant. They looked solemnly at the figure that came out of the Forbidden Death Mountain range. The figure had a tiger's head and a human's body. Its aura was vast and boundless like the ocean. Mei Ying's beautiful eyes narrowed the moment she saw the tiger-headed man. She said in a low voice, "It's an exotic beast at the middle stage of the sky-reaching master realm. It's very powerful." Mei Su, Jie, and the 5 juniors became nervous when they heard Mei Ying's words. They had lived in the massacre heavenly domain for a long time and had heard a lot about the Forbidden Death Mountain range. They knew that the exotic beasts in the Forbidden Death Mountain range were much stronger than those of the same rank. Cultivators of the same rank would usually be defeated if they fought against the exotic beasts. Although the tiger-headed exotic beast had the same cultivation level as Mei Ying, everyone knew that Mei Ying would not be a match for the exotic beast. However, Mei Ying and the others were less nervous when they saw Zhuowen. They thought of Zhuowen's strength and knew that the tiger-headed exotic beast might not be a match for Zhuowen. They had originally thought that there would be a great battle. Who would have thought that the tiger-faced, human-bodied beast with a grand aura would walk in front of Zhuowen, kneel on one knee and say respectfully, "Greetings, Lord." Mei Ying, Mei Su, and the others couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock. This strange beast with a tiger's face and a human's body was at least at the mid-stage of the Heaven Ascension realm. Yet, it was actually kneeling in front of Zhuowen to express its submission. Celestial Master Zhua, don't tell me that the person you mentioned earlier is this strange beast? Mei Ying regained his senses and asked, "Who are you calling an exotic beast? Human, you better watch your words. Otherwise, don't blame me for tearing your mouth apart." Shi-Hu looked at Mei Ying with hostility. Don't look at how respectful and obedient Shi-Hu was towards Zhuowen. That was because Zhuowen's strength was too strong, suppressing him to the point that he did not dare to act recklessly. However, Mei Ying was not Zhuowen, and he was not that powerful. With Shi-Hu's personality, he would not be nice to Mei Ying and the others. They are all my friends. Watch your words. Zhuowen said faintly. Shi-Hu trembled when he heard that. He could hear a trace of killing intent in Zhuowen's words. Shi-Hu quickly forced a smile and said, "Sir, you worry too much. I was just joking with them just now." Zhuowen nodded and said without batting an eyelid, "I need to bring my friend into the Forbidden Mountain Range, which is the place all of you found me at that time. Bring me there now, and this divine pill is yours." Zhuowen took out a spirit-cleansing divine pill and waved it in front of Shi-Hu. Then, he kept it in the macro world. Shi-Hu's eyes widened the moment he saw the spirit-cleansing divine pill. He was no stranger to the spirit-cleansing divine pill. Not only could it increase the probability of an early-stage Heaven Ascension Realm Master breaking through to the mid-stage, but it also had unimaginable benefits for the mid-stage Heaven Ascension Realm Master. A divine pill of this level was too precious. It could be said that it was hard to find even one. Now, the human cultivator in front of him casually took it out. This made Shi-Hu view Zhuowen even more highly. Of course, he was also even more apprehensive of Zhuowen in his heart. He was very clear that the resources on this person were so abundant, his strength was so formidable. He definitely had an extremely robust background behind him. When Shi-Hu saw Zhuowen put away the spirit-cleansing divine pill, his gaze was slightly disappointed. But he came back to his senses very quickly and said with a face full of eagerness, "Your Excellency, this lowly one will definitely do it well for you. You can rest assured." Zhuowen nodded and said, "Then lead the way in front." Shi-Hu had a look of eagerness as he led Zhuowen's party into the stone steps that went up at the foot of the mountain. These stone steps presented a verdant color, sparkling and translucent, like jade, emitting a light that was hard to look at. The moment Zhuowen stepped onto the stone steps, he had already entered the range of the Forbidden Death Mountain. Dense and powerful sword chi surged toward Zhuowen, drilling into his acupoints in an attempt to pierce through Zhuowen. Zhuowen was not surprised. This was not the first time he had stepped onto these stone steps. Coupled with his strong physical body, these sword chi really could not cause any harm to him. However, Zhuowen frowned slightly. The moment he saw Mei Ying and the others step onto the stone steps, they all exclaimed in surprise. Mei Ying and Ying Jie were still fine. Their cultivation was the strongest among them, so naturally, they could withstand the sword chi around them. On the other hand, Mei Su and the other 5 juniors had the lowest cultivation. The moment they encountered the sword chi, they were immediately thrown into disarray and suffered serious injuries. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and used the profound creation mysterious light. A blazing white light spread out with Zhuowen as the center. Instantly, with Yun as the center, the white light formed a solid boundary that enveloped Mei Su and the others within a 10-meter radius. As soon as the boundary appeared, the terrifying sword chi around them was immediately blocked outside. "Thank you, Brother Zhua." Mei Su and the others steadied themselves. Naturally, they also noticed the boundary that suddenly appeared around them. They quickly cupped their hands and thanked Zhuowen. Shi-Hu, who was leading the way in front, also stopped. He looked at the boundary around them and looked at Zhuowen with even more respect. He could feel that the boundary that Zhuowen had just cast was very powerful. He even doubted if he could break it if he attacked with all his might. Then, the group continued on their way. Soon, Sher, who led the group to the area where Zhuowen had just teleported into the Forbidden Death Mountain range. As soon as Zhuowen entered the area, he waved his right hand and summoned several beast bone array discs. He began to deduce the original teleportation trajectory. This time, he quickly found the original teleportation trajectory. After all, he had just entered the Massacre Heavenly Domain not long ago, so it was naturally easy to find the teleportation trajectory. After finding the teleportation trajectory, Zhuowen began to set up the teleportation array. About an hour later, Zhuowen finished setting up the teleportation array. After he threw a few thousand Heavenly Law origin crystals into the teleportation array, it immediately emitted a blazing white light. Within the teleportation array, there was even a powerful spatial fluctuation. Zhuowen looked at Mei Ying and the others and said, "City Lord Mei Ying, Miss Mei Su. The teleportation array is ready. You can all enter now." Chapter 34:15. Mysterious Image Lake, Big Brother Zhua. Why aren't you entering the teleportation array? After entering the teleportation array, Mei Su saw that Zhuowen hadn't moved and hurriedly asked. As soon as Mei Su said that, Mei Ying, Ying Jie, and the rest came to their senses and looked at Zhuowen in confusion. Zhuowen cupped his hands and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, I'm afraid I can't follow you to the primitive heavenly realm." "But, Big Brother Zhua, you're also from the primitive heavenly realm. Why don't you follow us?" Mei Su asked in confusion. "Immortal Master Zhua, do you want to stay in the Slaughter Heavenly Realm? This place isn't suitable for you. If you follow us to the primitive heavenly realm, I'll use the Nine-Tailed Fox clan's power to repay your kindness." Mei Ying said. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "The primitive heavenly realm isn't my hometown. My real identity isn't from the Devouring clan. The Devouring clan is just a clone of mine. My real body is a human. So, I can't follow you." Zhuowen cupped his hands and said, "Everyone, if there's a chance in the future, we'll meet again. Let's part ways here." Zhuowen threw out a formation flag and the teleportation array emitted a blazing white light that engulfed everyone. Zhuowen watched as the white light gradually disappeared. Then he turned around and looked at Sher who was still following behind him. He tossed a Grand Peace Spirit Divine Pill to Sher Hu. "Thank you, my lord." Sher Hu's eyes widened when he received the Spirit Cleansing Divine Pill. He thanked Zhuowen again and was extremely excited. "Sher Hu, I heard that the Forbidden Mountain Range is the only way out of the Slaughter Heavenly Realm. However, I've tried this place before and I only know that it leads to the primitive heavenly realm. Is there no other way out?" Zhuowen asked indifferently. Sher Hu carefully put away the spirit-cleansing divine pill and looked at Zhuowen. After knowing that Zhuowen was a human, he already knew why Zhuowen asked that question. He grinned and said, "Sir, you may not know this, but the Forbidden Death Mountain is not the only way to leave the Slaughter Heavenly Realm. Your guess is right. The Forbidden Death Mountain is an exit that leads to the Great Desolate Heaven Realm. I know you are a human, and the place you want to return to should be the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. And the other place I want to tell you is the entrance to the mysterious passageway that leads to the Xianmi Heavenly Domain." Hearing this, Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He knew that there was more than one exit in the Massacre Heavenly Domain. He had learned about the Slaughter Heavenly Domain from the Black King. He knew that this heavenly domain was a very mysterious and strange heavenly domain between the Great Desolate Heavenly Domain and the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. Since there was an exit to the Great Desolate Heavenly Domain, there must be an exit to the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. When Zhuowen saw the hesitation on Sher Hu's face, he knew that this fellow wanted some benefits. Zhuowen took out a Grand Peace Spirit Divine Pill again and said indifferently, "Tell me, and this divine pill is yours." When Sher Hu saw that Zhuowen actually took out another Grand Peace Spirit Divine Pill, his eyes immediately revealed a look of surprise. At the same time, he was shocked by Zhuowen's wealth to be able to take out so many divine pills so casually. In the opposite direction of the Forbidden Death Mountain, it can be considered another border of the Massacre Heavenly Domain. There is a vast and boundless lake. We call it the Mystic Image Lake. The reason why this lake has such a name is entirely because cultivators who enter the mystic image lake will encounter a mirror image human figure that is exactly the same as him. This is the strange part of the mystic image lake. It can completely replicate all the abilities and divine artifacts of the cultivators who enter the mystic image lake. And the replicated mirror image human figure's strength is even stronger than the original. In the Massacre Heavenly Domain, the gathering place of the quiet sun divine city is basically filled with human cultivators. Many of them choose to barge into the mystic image lake in order to leave this place, hoping to return to the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. However, these human cultivators who barged into the mystic image lake were all annihilated and died in the mystic image lake. That place is even more terrifying than the Forbidden Death Mountain. No matter how strong you are, the mystic image lake will create a mirror image human figure that is even stronger than you. The final result of barging in is death. At this point, Sherhu looked at Zhuowen and advised Zhuowen not to rashly attempt to enter the mystic image lake. He had also received a lot of benefits from Zhuowen and had a good impression of Zhuowen. Although he knew that Zhuowen was very strong, wanting to pass through the mystic image lake was not something that could be done with just strength. That place was an unsolvable place. Zhuowen nodded. Although Sherhu advised that that place was not a good place, Zhuowen was unmoved. He had to return to the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. Not only did he have to find Mu Qinshue's whereabouts, but his Ryuka family was still in the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. All these years he had been running around in the outside world and rarely returned to Ryuka. He did not even know how his Ryuka family members were doing. This time in the primitive Heavenly Domain, Zhuowen's strength had increased greatly. Furthermore, the Great World was extremely hidden. He decided that after returning to the Xianmi Heavenly Domain, he would bring the Ryuka family to live in the Great World. With the resources and foundation in the Great World, he would definitely be able to build the Ryuka family into an extremely powerful force. After all, his foundation had far surpassed all the other powerful forces. Even the Sorcerer tribe, the #1 tribe in the primitive Heavenly Domain, could not compare to Zhuowen's current foundation. In addition, he was a powerful array master and alchemist. As long as he was still around, the Ryuka family would only become more prosperous. In the end, Yun obtained the route to the mysterious image lake from Sherhu and left the Forbidden Death Mountain range. Sherhu looked at Zhuowen's departing figure and shook his head. He sighed softly and said, "This lord is really stubborn. The mysterious image lake is simply unsolvable, but he still wants to go. I really don't know what he is thinking." However, when he thought about how he had obtained 2 Grand Harmony Spirit Elixirs for no reason, his expression immediately became much more cheerful. This time, he had gotten a huge bargain. If he completely refined the Grand Harmony Spirit Elixir, his cultivation would improve greatly again. Zhuowen's speed was very fast. He rode the space-time roulette and advanced rapidly. In just 2 days, he had crossed the entire Massacre Heavenly Domain and arrived at the other border of the Massacre Heavenly Domain that Sherhu had mentioned. The Massacre Heavenly Domain was much smaller than the primitive Heavenly Domain and the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. Therefore, he did not need to spend much time to cross the entire Massacre Heavenly Domain. Zhuowen stopped the space-time roulette. At the same time, he also saw at the end ahead. An incomparably huge lake with clear and crystalline waves appeared before his eyes. The shape of this lake was oval-shaped. The surface of the lake flickered with a cold light, sparkling and shining. It was very extraordinary. Zhuowen stopped at the shore of the lake. Looking at the clear and crystalline lake water under his feet, his brows furrowed. This lake was no different from an ordinary lake. He did not even feel the fluctuations of an array formation in the surroundings. If not for Sherhu's reminder, he would have suspected whether this lake was the mysterious image lake or not. But very soon, Zhuowen revealed a look of surprise. He looked at the figure in the lake that reflected his reflection. That figure was also looking at him. Zhuowen discovered that the pair of eyes of the figure in the lake was actually a faint blue. It was completely different from his black pupils. Chapter 34:16. Mirror Image Shadow Splash. The sharp sound of water suddenly rang out, and the figure reflected in the water was grinning maliciously at Zhuowen, and without any warning, he attacked swiftly and violently. An arm quickly reached out of the water and grabbed Zhuowen's feet, intending to pull Zhuowen into the lake. Zhuowen's reaction was very fast. The moment the figure attacked, he had already retreated. What surprised Zhuowen was that the moment he retreated, he couldn't see his own figure. The arm that reached out of the water also collapsed. The surface of the lake was still tranquil. The waves were clear and crystalline, flickering with a lustrous light. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He stopped in his tracks and didn't look too good. The next few times, Zhuowen tried to walk to the shore of the lake. Every time, his figure would be reflected in the lake, and every time, the figure in the lake would reveal a sinister smile and decisively attack Zhuowen. One time, Zhuowen's reaction was slower and his right foot was immediately grabbed by the figure in the lake. The figure was very strong and Zhuowen was almost dragged into the water. Fortunately, Zhuowen used the power of time and space in time to escape the range of the lake. Zhuowen stood quite far away from the shore of the lake and looked pensive. After a few attempts, Zhuowen finally figured out the pattern of the mystic image lake. As long as a person's figure was reflected on the surface of the water, the mysterious image lake would produce a mirror image of a person. As for this mirrored figure, its strength was even more extraordinary. It was even stronger than the original. He could guess a thing or two from the fact that he was almost dragged into the lake by the figure in the water. According to Hu, if he wanted to pass through the mystic image lake, he had to defeat the mirror image produced by the mystic image lake. His clone cultivated the Pangu sacred body and was the strongest. However, in the mystic image lake, the mirror image produced would probably be stronger than his clone. Zhuowen didn't plan to let his clone fight. At the thought of this, he summoned his true body of the human race from the great world. The white robes of the true body of the human race fluttered along with the wind. His face carried a scholarly smile. Furthermore, his cultivation base had also made significant progress. Ever since he had broken through to the heavenly master realm, coupled with the abundant resources of the outside world, his cultivation base had reached the peak of the early heavenly master realm. He wasn't far from the middle stage of the master of heaven realm. Although the cultivation of his true body might not be particularly high, his human true body had successfully attained the Tao with a body without a Tao root. It could be said that this was unprecedented. Correspondingly, the main body's battle prowess was absolutely astonishing, far surpassing those of the same level. It could fight against a mid-stage Heaven's Ascension Master, and there was even a high chance that it could defeat a mid-stage Heaven's Ascension Master. For the battle at the Mystic Image Lake this time, it was most appropriate to send his true body to try it out. Once the main body was no match for the main body, the clone could forcefully intervene and swiftly rescue the main body. This also meant that there was an additional layer of protection. The main body of the human race nodded to the clone, then walked step by step toward the Mystic Image Lake. The instant he reached the shore, he suddenly stomped his right foot and instantly leaped into the air, landing in the center of the lake. The clone sat cross-legged on the shore and looked at the main body floating in the air above the lake. Then, he looked at the surface of the water at the center of the lake. The main body's figure appeared there. The figure's eyes were still dark blue, and there was a strange smile on his face. But, suddenly, the figure broke out of the water and let out a beast-like roar. He quickly swept toward the main body in the air above the center of the lake. A terrifying force swept out, and countless splashes of water splashed in all directions, forming pillars of water one after another in the air. These pillars of water shot straight into the sky like water dragons. Countless splashes of water scattered in all directions, forming a hazy mist above the water. The main body snorted coldly, and a pair of huge illusory eyes appeared behind him. It was the torch dragon's eye that he had used. The torch dragon's eye was very mysterious, and its pupils emitted a faint light as if it could see through everything and illusions. The main body took a strange step in midair, and then his eyes flickered. He stomped his right foot, and a terrifying force shook the ground as he stomped toward one of the water pillars below. Bang, bang, bang. Zhuowen's leg strength was terrifying, and it carried the terrifying power of the heavenly Tao. The water pillar directly exploded, splashing out dazzling water. Bang! At the same time, a figure suddenly rushed out from the exploding water pillar and punched the back of the main body. The fist force was like a rainbow, and it was terrifying as if it could split the sky and earth. The main body was already prepared. He turned around and suddenly flicked his right leg. Endless astral winds swept out with his right leg, and it was very terrifying. Bang! The fist and leg collided, and endless ripples exploded. The main body and the figure suddenly separated, and the two of them let out a muffled groan at the same time. Zhuan stabilized his body and began to carefully size up the mirror figure opposite him. The figure was almost the same height as him. The only thing he didn't understand was that the figure's entire body was pitch black, and his facial features couldn't be seen. It was as if the figure in front of him was a shadow. The figure stomped his foot and launched another attack. The main body didn't show any weakness and also flew out. Suddenly, the two of them fought again, and the terrifying ripples of the battle spread out in all directions like mist. The battle between the two of them was very terrifying. The space above the lake was crisscrossed and collapsed, and pillars of water flew out from the lake one after another, straight into the sky like water dragons. It was very spectacular. The doppelganger sitting cross-legged on the shore looked more and more serious. He found that the main body was gradually suppressed by the figure. The attack methods of the two were almost identical, and there was no difference, but the figure's strength was much stronger than the main body. This can't go on. The main body will lose without a doubt. I have to pull the main body back first. The doppelganger muttered to himself and began to communicate with the main body, telling him to go to the shore first. The doppelganger quickly took action and pulled him out of the range of the mysterious image lake. However, the doppelganger didn't get a response from the main body. His expression gradually became strange because he found that in the process of the main body's continuous battle with the mirror figure, the main body's eyes revealed a look of enlightenment. Seeing the look of enlightenment in the main body's eyes, the doppelganger, who originally wanted to persuade the main body to come back, stopped. He knew the main body's situation. The main body's cultivation was already at the peak of the early stage of the Heaven Ascension Master, and it was only half a step away from the middle stage. Originally, with the powerful foundation of the Great World, it was not impossible to forcefully use resources to promote the main body in a short period of time, but there would be corresponding side effects, so the main body naturally didn't choose this method. The main body was looking for some kind of opportunity, an opportunity to comprehend. He was very clear that as long as he could find this opportunity, then a breakthrough would be a matter of course. Chapter 34:17. Meeting the Black King again. Although the original body was constantly being suppressed by the mirror image, he was not defeated. Instead, the original body's eyes were becoming more and more enlightened. Following that, the original body's aura changed. The original body's aura was also becoming stronger, as if it would break through at any time. Bang! The original body was pushed back again. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his face was slightly pale. However, the original body's lips were curled up. He was smiling, and the curvature of his lips was getting wider and wider. His eyes became extremely clear, and they were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Once again he fought with the mirror image. This time, the original body was no longer at a disadvantage. Instead, the more he fought, the braver he became. The aura on his body also became more and more violent and powerful. Boom! The original body suddenly threw out a punch. Instantly, terrifying lightning exploded, and an ear-piercing explosion sounded. As for the power of this punch, it was fully unleashed. It had actually reached an unprecedentedly terrifying level. The mirror image was like a machine that did not know fear. He also threw out a punch, intending to meet the original body head-on. With a crisp cracking sound, the mirror image's right fist was shattered. Blood splattered everywhere, and he was in a miserable state. He kept retreating. The original body's aura became more and more vast. The energy on his body kept rising, forming a terrifying and complicated energy storm above his head. At the same time, the original body's power also rose to a terrifying level. The original body took a step forward and caught up with the mirror image. He threw out a punch, and it landed heavily on the mirror image's chest. The mirror image's chest was directly smashed. Blood burst out, and his sternum caved in. He looked extremely miserable. The original body did not let the mirror image go so easily. He threw out punch after punch, and the power of each punch was extremely terrifying. It could shatter any physical body, and it was so terrifying that it could destroy the heavens and earth. The original body finally threw out a punch, and it landed on the mirror image's back. Then, the mirror image screamed and exploded into nothingness. At this moment, the original body's aura had reached its peak. His body emitted crackling sounds, as if many beings were colliding with each other. Finally, his aura was elevated to a higher level, and the energy in his body was constantly being reorganized and transformed. He was in high spirits. The clone that was seated on the shore slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the main body that was still floating in the air above the mysterious image lake and muttered to himself, "I never imagined that the main body would actually make a breakthrough in the middle of the battle." The battle at the mysterious image lake this time has truly benefited the main body quite a bit. But soon, the Avatar's gaze was attracted to the center of the mysterious image lake. At the center of the profound image lake, a violently rotating vortex actually appeared. This whirlpool was very big, and it was pitch black inside. It was incomparably deep, and it was impossible to see what was in the depths. However, his main body, which was hovering above the lake, saw the depths of the vortex through the torch dragon's eye. In the depths, he saw the exit to the massacre heavenly domain. He knew that if he won the battle of the mystic image lake this time, he would also win the right to leave the slaughter sky domain. Speaking of which, he should be the first cultivator to pass through the profound image lake in the slaughter heavenly domain. After all, Sherhu had said that no human cultivator had successfully passed the test of the mystic image lake. The clone on the shore stood up and took a step forward to the main body's side. He looked down at the black vortex below and said to the main body, "Main body, it's been hard on you this time. Enter the great world first. Leave the rest to me." The main body nodded. He had just broken through and urgently needed to consolidate his newly advanced realm. After the main body entered the great world, the clone hesitated for a moment before rushing into the vortex below. The moment he entered the vortex, Zhuowen's vision fell into darkness. However, by using his divine thought, he was able to see the inside of the whirlpool clearly. What made Zhuowen feel strange was that the vortex stirred up the lake so violently, but the inside of the vortex was very quiet. Moreover, through his divine thought, Zhuowen discovered that there was actually a staircase inside the vortex. This staircase was forged from bluestone. The surface was smooth and exquisite like jade. Zhuowen continued to walk down the staircase. As he went down, Zhuowen saw many corpses. They must be the corpses of cultivators who had failed the test and died in the profound image lake. After about half a day, Zhuowen walked out of the staircase and came to a dark secret room. In front of the secret room, there was a bronze tree. Zhuowen was very familiar with this bronze tree. When he had entered the mysterious passage, he had walked along the light and darkness path. At the end of the light and darkness path was a bronze tree. At that time, he had relied on the bronze tree's teleportation power to finally teleport him into the slaughter heavenly domain. This bronze tree was exactly the same as the one Zhuowen had seen last time. In the middle of the tree was a palm-sized blood pattern. The blood pattern was very complicated and gave off the smell of blood. Under the blood pattern, there were 3 grooves. Zhuowen knew that these grooves were for heavenly Tao origin crystals. Zhuowen straightforwardly took out 3 supreme-grade heavenly Tao origin crystals and placed them in the grooves. Suddenly, the blood pattern on the bronze tree spun rapidly and emitted an intense bloody light. The bloody light spread and formed a bloody vortex that sucked Zhuowen in. When Zhuowen opened his eyes, he was standing under another bronze tree, and in front of him was a very familiar path of light and darkness. Below the light and darkness path was a winding river of light and darkness. Looking at the river of light and darkness below, Zhuowen was so angry that his teeth itched. When he had first entered the slaughter heavenly domain, he had questioned the Phoenix people's saintess. Later, he had found out that the river of light and darkness led directly to the prehistoric heavenly domain. And this light and darkness path led to the Xianmi heavenly domain. Back then, the Black King had deliberately misled him. If he had directly entered the river of light and darkness, he would not have had to go through so much trouble to enter the slaughter heavenly domain and then enter the prehistoric heavenly domain through the forbidden Death Mountain range. Who knew how much effort and time had been spent? Sigh. I hope that the Black King is more reliable this time. Zhuan shook his head and sighed. He stepped onto the light and darkness path and rushed towards the source of the light and darkness path. When Zhuan arrived at the source of the light and darkness path, he saw a huge black lion that was as big as a mountain. Black King. When Zhuan saw the black lion, his expression did not look too good. It was even unfriendly. The black lion also saw Zhuan. It smiled cheekily and said, "Oh, it's you. What a coincidence to meet you here. You're really lucky to be able to come out after entering the slaughter heavenly domain again. What a surprise, and also made me lose a little miserably." When the black lion said this, its face was full of resentment. Zhuan felt a chill run down his spine. Lose? Who did you bet with? Zhuan caught the loophole in the Black King's words and asked. The Black King patted his head and said, "It's just a bet with a friend of mine. I bet that you would die in the slaughter heavenly domain and would not last for 49 days. My friend bet that you would come out alive. I think you know the final result." Zhuan's eyes emitted a green light as he looked at the Black King unkindly. This guy actually used him as a wager. Zhuan was very unhappy. However, although he was unhappy, the Black King was very powerful. The aura on his body made even Zhuan tremble with fear. Chapter 34:18. The death of Tan Xinghua. The Black King was embarrassed. He looked at Zhuo Wen's unfriendly gaze and laughed dryly. "I wasn't the one who suggested this bet. It was my friend who pestered me to make the bet. What can I do?" Zhuan looked at the Black King suspiciously and asked, "Who is your friend?" Zhuan Kai would not listen to Black King's nonsense. He knew very well that Black King loved to bet. This bet must have been proposed by this fellow first. However, this fellow had lost and pushed all the blame to his scapegoat friend. The Black King shrugged and said, "I won't tell that old guy. He asked me to keep it a secret. I won't tell you." Zhuan didn't care. He could guess that the so-called friend who bet with the Black King should be the three pure ones. Zhuan said calmly, "Now don't block the way. I need to leave this place. Send me back to the Xianmi heavenly territory." "Do you think I want to wait for you? I'm here to send you a message. The three pure ones want you to go to the heaven accessing place as soon as possible. He wants me to send you to the starry sky battlefield. You've caused a lot of trouble in the untainted heavenly territory. Fortunately, most people think you died together with the weird green-haired mummy. You're safe now. However, if you go back to the Xianmi heavenly territory and appear in front of everyone, your former enemies will easily pass the news of you to the Wu Lu and other forces in the heaven accessing place." The Black King's eyes became serious. He warned Zhuan to be careful when he went back to the Xianmi heavenly territory. Many practitioners in the Xianmi heavenly territory knew that Zhuan had used the alias of Long Wen. If he appeared in the Xianmi heavenly territory as Zhuan, it would be easy to arouse suspicion. Then someone would definitely leak the secret. Hearing this, Zhuan fell silent. He felt a chill in his heart. He really didn't think of this. Now that the Black King reminded him, he broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing Zhuowen's frightened expression, the Black King looked a little proud and said, "It seems that you didn't think of this. Fortunately, I told you in advance. How are you going to thank me?" Zhuan furrowed his brows. He did not care about the Black King's irritating expression. Instead, he began to think about how he would continue to disguise himself after returning to the Xianmi heaven domain. Furthermore, he could no longer use the names Long Wen and Zhu. "Black King, thank you so much. Teleport me to the Xianmi heavenly domain," Zhuowen said solemnly. "Brat, are you even listening to me? Don't you want to go to the heaven accessing place to meet the old guys, three pure ones?" You should know that you destroyed the Sorcerer God City and killed many experts of the Sorcerer Tribe. You even killed the Sorcerer Tribe's Saint Master. Once the Wu Lu knows that you are fine, most of the forces in the primitive heavenly realm in the heaven accessing place will put you on the wanted list. At that time, you will be really miserable. It will be difficult for the 3 pure ones to protect you. And the rest of the ancestral sorcerers' corpses are basically in the heaven accessing place. It's useless for you to wander around the Xianmi heavenly domain and the untainted heavenly domain now. The Black King stared at him. He was still trying to persuade Zhuowen, hoping that Zhuowen would change his mind. I still have some things to do in the Xianmi heavenly domain. After I finish these things, I will naturally go to the heaven accessing place, Zhuowen said solemnly. Seeing that Zhuowen was so determined, the Black King did not try to persuade him again. He said, "Since you have made up your mind, I will not force you. Anyway, I have already delivered your message. Next, I will teleport you out first. It's still the starry sky battlefield. You are free to go wherever you want." As he spoke, the Black King waved his claw. A stream of black energy gushed out and wrapped Zhuowen in an instant. "Wait, teleport me to the host region of the Xianmi heavenly domain. Don't be in such a hurry," Zhuowen said hurriedly. Unfortunately, the Black King was faster. The black energy wrapped Zhuowen and took him away in an instant. Did that brat say something just now? Did he want me to teleport him to some host region? After the teleportation, the Black King patted his huge head with his claw. But soon, he laughed and said to himself, "It must be my illusion. How could I be wrong?" The empty and lonely starry sky was cold and empty. Countless meteorites and broken stones were floating around. A beam of light landed on a medium-sized meteor. When the light faded, a slender young man in black appeared. Zhuowen stood on the meteorite and looked around. After confirming that this was indeed a starry sky in the starry sky battlefield, his face darkened. He knew that the Black King was unreliable, but he did not expect him to be so unreliable. This was the second time that the Black King had teleported him to another place. Damn it! Even if I die in the future, I will not let the Black King teleport me, Zhuowen thought to himself. After calming down, he took out the starry sky map. After confirming his current location, he sent out the space-time roulette and flew toward the encampment of the starry sky battlefield. When Zhuowen returned to the encampment of the human race in the starry sky battlefield, he immediately realized that the atmosphere in the encampment was not right. Most of the cultivators in the encampment were in a hurry and were ready to go. It was as if they were preparing for the upcoming battle. When he landed in the eastern encampment, the situation became even more obvious. Moreover, the moment Zhuowen entered the encampment, he used his spiritual force to scan the entire encampment. Zhuowen's spiritual force was very powerful now. It had even surpassed the peak experts of the sky-reaching master. When he scanned with his spiritual force, the 4 Tao Lords really could not detect him. After all, the quality of their spiritual forces was not on the same level. He realized that among the 4 Tao Lords guarding the encampment, the Eastern Tao Lord, Tan Xinghua, was not in the Eastern encampment. The other 3 Tao Lords were present, but they did not look too good. Zhuowen's eyes revealed a strange expression. He felt even more puzzled. Did the 4 Tao Lords encounter some trouble? Among the 4 Tao Lords, Zhuowen liked the Eastern Tao Lord, Tan Xinghua the most. Zhuowen did not like the other 3 Tao Lords. After all, when he was asked to hand over the foreign race army, only the Eastern Tao Lord, Tan Xinghua, stood up and opposed the rest. Zhuowen disguised himself as a fierce-looking middle-aged man and entered the eastern encampment. He did not attract too much attention. Sigh. It's such a pity that Tao Lord Tan has fallen just like that. His death was not worth it. Tao Lord Tan should have died in the war against the foreign race. He died in the hands of his own race just like that. His death was not worth it. As soon as Zhuowen landed in the eastern encampment, he heard people sighing and talking beside him. The content of the conversation instantly caused Zhuowen's pupils to shrink. A surge of anger rose in his heart. Chapter 34:19. Crisis in the host region, fellow Taoists. What happened to Tao Master Tan? I saw him alive and well a while ago. How did he die? Zhuan stood in front of the two people who were talking about Tan Xinghua and asked with a sincere look. The two of them should be cultivators from the Eastern Space Camp. One of them was rather old, in his 40s. He had a beard and looked very rough. The other was a young cultivator, in his 20s. He was fair and clean and had the air of a scholar. The two of them looked at Zhuan cautiously. The middle-aged man had a strange look on his face as he said, "My friend, don't you know? Sect Master Tan's death has spread like wildfire in the space camp. How can you not know?" Zhuan explained, "I was in a dangerous place in the space battlefield some time ago and was trapped for a while. I just came out recently. When I returned to the space camp, I heard the two of you talking about Sect Master Tan. I was curious, so I wanted to ask about the details." As he spoke, Zhuan gave the two of them a few high-grade Heavenly Path Origin crystals. After the two of them accepted the Heavenly Path Origin crystals, their expressions relaxed. They looked at each other. The middle-aged man nodded and said, "Since you are so sincere, I will tell you. This is not a secret. Now all 4 space camps know about it. This matter started from the sect leader of the 10 Ultimates Een Corp's sect, Sakyamuni." Then, the middle-aged man began to speak. Zhuan listened quietly. However, the more he listened, the more gloomy his expression became. From the middle-aged man's narration, Zhuan finally understood what had happened in the host region. He also knew why Tan Xinghua had died. And it all started from the 10 Ultimates Een Corp's sect in the host region. The previous sect leader of the 10 Ultimates Een Corp's sect, Senki Een, suddenly died not long after Zhuan left the Xianmi Sky region. As Senki Yin's direct disciple, Sakyamuni took over as the new sect leader of the 10 Ultimates Een Corp's sect. After Sakyamuni became the new sect leader, the 10 Ultimates Een Corp's sect had been very peaceful. However, in the past 2 months, Indra had suddenly adopted a thunderous strategy. He had led the army of the Een Corp's sect of the 10 Extremes to attack the Tao Palace forces of the host region, Fallen Star Mountain, Void Palace, and Sun-Chasing Temple. The sect leaders of these 3 Tao Palace forces were all captured by Sakyamuni. And after Indra used thunderous methods to take down these 3 Tao Palace-level forces, it shook the entire Xianmi heavenly domain. There was an unwritten rule between the Tao Palace factions, which stated that they were not allowed to attack each other's territories and start a war. After all, Tao Palace forces were the symbol of every precept domain. They had deep foundations, and once a war broke out, the impact would be terrifying. It would implicate many other small and medium-sized forces. Once a Tao Palace faction started a war by any means necessary, the other Tao Palace factions would join forces to suppress them. Originally, the Scarlet Mountain Manor, Falling Star Mountain Manor, Sun-Chasing Temple, and Void Palace had formed an alliance when the 10 Extremities Een Corp's sect started the war. But what was even more frightening was that the new sect master of the 10 Ultimate Een Corp's sect, Sakyamuni, was terrifyingly powerful, far surpassing the sect masters of the other 4 Tao Palaces. Of the sect lords of the 4 great Tao Palaces, only the sect lord of the Scarlet Mountain Villa managed to escape. The other 3 sect lords were severely injured and captured alive. Other than that, what was even more shocking was that the 10 Extremes Een Corp's sect had used something called the Dead Man's Flower. When the Dead Man Flower was planted in a cultivator's body, it could instantly absorb a cultivator's lifetime of cultivation and bloom into a bright flower. Cultivators of the 10 Extremities Een Corp's sect could advance quickly by absorbing the Dead Man Flower. Because of this heaven-defying item, the cultivators of the 10 Extremities Een Corp's sect were generally stronger than the other Tao Palaces. Even if the other 4 Tao Palaces joined forces, they would still be crushed by the 10 Extremities Een Corp's sect. What angered everyone even more was that after the 10 Extremities Een Corp's sect took over Falling Star Mountain, Void Palace, and Sun-Chasing Temple, the cultivators of the 3 great factions were all used to plant the Dead Man's Flower. Almost no one survived. After the Scarlet Mountain Villa's sect lord's army was defeated, he fled back to the Scarlet Mountain Villa and activated the sect-protecting array. He also told the Eastern Sect Master, Tan Xinghua, about what had happened in the host region. Tan Xinghua was the Eastern sect master and also the overlord of the host region. Now that such a big thing had happened in the host region, Tan Xinghua naturally couldn't sit still. He led an elite team into the host region and headed to the Ten Extremities In Corps sect. When the various factions of the host region saw Tan Xinghua personally take action, they were all filled with hope. They felt that if Tan Xinghua took action, Sakyamuni of the Ten Extremities In Corps sect would be defeated without a doubt. Even the sect lord of the Scarlet Mountain Villa was filled with anticipation. Like everyone else, he thought that no matter how strong Sakyamuni was, he would still be defeated without a doubt if Tan Xinghua took action. After all, Tan Xinghua was a sky-reaching middle-stage expert. His strength was unparalleled and far surpassed all the cultivators in the host region. However, the battle between Tan Xinghua and Sakyamuni shocked everyone. Sakyamuni only used 3 moves to severely injure Tan Xinghua. His body was destroyed, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. After that, he was taken away by Sakyamuni. Although no one really saw Tan Xinghua fall, everyone knew that Tan Xinghua would definitely die if he fell into Sakyamuni's hands. It's Sakyamuni. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. He found it unbelievable. How did the Nadi Shiva's strength increase so quickly? Was it because of the dead man's flower? Zhuowen's face turned ugly. When he found the dead man's flower in the underground space of the Ten Extremities In Corps sect, he knew that the dead man's flower would definitely be a disaster in the future. Therefore, he destroyed all the dead man's flowers in the underground space. However, he left a dead man's flower and later gave it to the Pildao Immortal Alliance's leader, Ji Wuming. However, it was precisely because of this that Ji Wuming spent a lot of money to hire the blood prison assassins to kill him. Later, he found out that the dead man's flower was researched by Ji Wuming. This guy was in cahoots with the Ten Extremities In Corps sect. After knowing that Jun had destroyed most of the dead man's flowers, Ji Wuming killed Jun to silence him. Jun was very sure that he had destroyed all the dead man's flowers in the Ten Extremities In Corps sect. However, the dead man's flowers had appeared in the Ten Extremities In Corps sect. He knew that all of this had something to do with Ji Wuming. After all, he had left a dead man's flower for Ji Wuming to appraise and expose the evil deeds of the In Corps sect of the Ten Extremities. Now, it seemed that Ji Wuming had returned the dead man's flower to the Ten Extremities In Corps sect. Jun was a little annoyed. When he had returned to the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, he had killed Ji Wuming. He had not thought about the dead man's flower that he had given to Ji Wuming. If he had thought about it, he would have asked Ji Wuming about the whereabouts of the dead man's flower. At that time, he could have followed the clues to the Ten Extremities In Corps sect and completely destroyed the dead man's flower. Then this series of troublesome things would not have happened. Fellow Taoist, are you okay? The middle-aged man saw that Jun had been in a daze and could not help but remind him. Jun came back to his senses. He cupped his fists at the middle-aged man and said, "Thank you for telling me so much, fellow Taoist. I still have one question." Chapter 3420. Sealed, Sect Master Tan has fallen. Did the other 3 sect masters not take any action? The Nadi Shiva's actions have disrupted the balance between the various precept regions. They must be punished, Zhuowen said in a low voice. The Nadi Shiva is too powerful. He defeated Sect Master Tan in 3 moves. He is suspected to be a late-stage Tong Tian master. The other 3 sect masters are hesitating. Moreover, that Sakura has already said that he was originally a cultivator from the host region and would only target the host region. He wouldn't touch the other Dao regions. That's why the 3 Dao masters haven't made a move until now. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with anger. He was very dissatisfied with the 3 sect masters' actions. Zhuowen's expression was not good. The 4 sect masters were supposed to be on the same side. Now that Tan Xinghua had fallen, the Eastern Precept region had been disrupted by the 10 Ultimate In Corps sect, and they had spread evil things like the dead flower. If the 10 Ultimate In Corps sect continued to develop, it would definitely threaten the other Precept regions. As for the promise made by Sakyamuni, Yun felt that it was no different from a fart. Although Zhuan despised the actions of the three sect masters, he did not intend to look for them. His identity was very sensitive now. If he was exposed, it would be very troublesome. Now that he had heard about the situation in the host region, Zhuan was very worried that Ryuka would be involved. Therefore, he only wanted to rush back to the host region as soon as possible. "Thank you, my friend." Zhuan cupped his hands and thanked the middle-aged man. Then, he hurried toward the teleportation array of the Eastern Cosmic Camp. When Zhuan arrived at the teleportation array to the host region, he found that the teleportation array to the Eastern Precept region had been blocked. "Why did you close the teleportation array to the host region? Our sect is still in the host region. It is being invaded by the 10 Ultimate Een Corps sect. We have to rush back to help." "Why did you close the teleportation array? You have no right. The Eastern Cosmic Camp belongs to Sect Master Tan, not you. Open the teleportation array and let us go." Many cultivators had gathered at the teleportation array. These cultivators had heard about what had happened in the host region and wanted to return to their respective sections. After all, in the sect, there were their senior and junior brothers, relatives, masters, disciples, and other close people. How could they sit still when something so big happened in the host region? All of them requested to return. The three cultivators guarding the teleportation formation all had bitter expressions on their faces. They hurriedly consoled them, "Everyone, please calm down. This is an order from the three Tao Lords. No one is allowed to leave the camp. After all, the alien race's army could still invade. The Eastern Space Camp is a very important strategic location. It can't be left empty." The explanation of the three cultivators immediately ignited the anger of the crowd. "Our brothers and sisters and our families are all in the host region. You're stopping us from going back, and you're telling us to stay here and guard against the invaders. How dare you say something like that? I don't care about the non-human army. My sect is in deep trouble, and you want me to continue guarding here? Fuck your sister. Do you really want me to curse your ancestors?" Everyone's anger was ignited. Some of them even unleashed their powerful auras, wanting to attack and push the three cultivators guarding the teleportation formation away. Although the three cultivators were not weak, there were simply too many cultivators gathered outside the teleportation array. There was no lack of powerful cultivators among them. The three cultivators were quickly defeated and left the teleportation array with their heads and faces covered in dirt. This teleportation formation is sealed by a sealing force. Who's the formation Tao master here? Break the sealing force on this teleportation formation. The crowd rushed to the teleportation formation but was quickly blocked by a sealing force. Everyone's expression was unpleasant. Among them, there were a few cultivators who were proficient in formations. After these cultivators observed the sealing force, their expressions turned ugly. This was because they realized that the sealing force was at the Heaven Ascension level. They had no ability to break it at all. Damn it! It must be a Heaven Ascension level formation Tao Master sent by the other Tao Lords to set up this sealing force around the teleportation formation. Damn it! The crowd was depressed. With the teleportation formation sealed, their chances of leaving the Eastern Space Camp and heading to the Eastern Tao Lord region were slim. "Who allowed you to gather here? All of you disperse." Suddenly, a thunderous voice rang out and attracted everyone's attention. A figure swept over from the Northern Space Camp near the Eastern Space Camp and appeared above the crowd in an instant. It was a burly middle-aged man in a light yellow robe. His eyes were filled with arrogance. "It's the Northern Tao Lord, Yao Jianyuan." The crowd immediately noticed the middle-aged man and recognized his identity. Their eyes were filled with fear. Zhuan, who was mixed in the crowd, looked at Yao Jianyuan with a gloomy expression. He could sense a murderous intent from Yao Jianyuan. "I've already told the other two Tao Lords that will take care of the matters in the Eastern Tao Lord region. However, you gathered here to cause trouble. Are you looking down on us Tao Lords? Now, return to your positions. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude," Yao Jianyuan said coldly. The aura of a Heaven Ascension Master in the intermediate stage suddenly erupted and spread around the teleportation formation like a tide. The cultivators who had gathered around the teleportation formation felt Yao Jinyuan's terrifying aura and retreated. He was an elite in the intermediate stage of the Heaven Ascension Master and a Tao Lord. He was not someone they could go against. To put it bluntly, in Yao Jinyuan's eyes, they were just ants. Tao Lord Yao, you keep saying that you'll take care of the matters in the Eastern Tao Lord region. However, you haven't done anything. Now, you're even stopping us from leaving the Eastern Space Camp. Is there any logic in this? Moreover, we're free to enter the Eastern Space Camp. Now that you're restricting our freedom, aren't you violating the rules of the Space Camp? Someone in the crowd retorted. The foreign tribe army may attack at any time. If you leave and the foreign tribe army invades, the entire space camp may be destroyed. Who's going to take responsibility for this? I'm the Tao Lord. Of course, I have to take responsibility for the space camp. Yao Jinyuan said coldly. When the foreign tribe army invaded, you didn't do much either. Instead, you wanted to surrender. If it wasn't for Master Zhua, the space camp would have been destroyed. It's all because of Master Zhua that the space camp was saved. It has nothing to do with you. If Master Zhua or Tao Lord Tan didn't allow us to leave, we would have obeyed. However, you don't have the right to do so. Chapter 34:21. Yao Jinyuan's fury. Yao Jinyuan's face darkened. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at the cultivator who had just spoken. Yao Jinyuan attacked decisively. Violent energy swept out and set off a terrifying storm. Many of the cultivators below were swept away by the storm and fell to the ground. Some of the cultivators were even worse off. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and their faces were pale. The cultivator who had mocked Yao Jinyuan was pale. Just as he was about to retreat, his neck was restrained by an energy. Then, his feet left the ground and he was lifted into the air. He floated in front of Yao Jinyuan. You've got guts, how dare you mock me? I am the Tao Lord of the North. You're just a soldier of the Starry Sky Camp. How dare you offend me? What a joke! Yao Jinyuan said darkly. The cultivator's face was terrifyingly pale. His body was trembling, but he was unyielding. He said hoarsely, Am I wrong? Isn't Master Zhua the one who defeated the alien army? What did you do back then? The alien army has retreated into the primitive celestial domain. They won't be able to make a comeback in a short time. Our sect is in deep trouble, but you're stopping us from going back to help our sect. Aren't your intentions sinister? Or rather, you're in cahoots with Sakyamuni from the host domain. Yao Jinyuan's face turned even uglier. He was furious. Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish. As he spoke, energy surged in Yao Jinyuan's hand. The cultivator in Yao Jinyuan's hand looked like he was about to die. He knew that he couldn't survive in the hands of a mid-stage Tao Lord like Yao Jinyuan. The cultivators below couldn't bear to see him die. They were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. Yao Jinyuan was too powerful. Moreover, he was a Tao Lord. Even if he killed a cultivator, he only needed to pin a crime on him and he wouldn't be punished. Bang! Just as Yao Jinyuan was about to kill the cultivator, a powerful energy swept out from the crowd and hit Yao Jinyuan's arm with great precision. Yao Jinyuan was not prepared at all. All his attention was focused on the cultivator in his hand. Puchi! The energy was as sharp as a blade as it landed on Yao Jinyuan's arm. Following that, a muffled Puchi sound was heard. Yao Jinyuan's arm exploded into a bloody mist. His right hand was actually blasted into fine powder by the energy. Blood splattered everywhere. As soon as Yao Jinyuan's arm exploded, the cultivator whose neck was in Yao Jinyuan's grasp immediately retreated at top speed. At the same time, the cultivator who was out of danger was also dumbfounded. He was prepared to die, but who would have thought that Yao Jinyuan's right hand would suddenly explode? However, he quickly realized that there must be some experts secretly helping him. All the cultivators present were dumbfounded. They didn't expect something like this to happen. It was too unexpected. As a Tao Lord, Yao Jinyuan's strength stood at the peak of the astral battlefield. In the space camp, no one was a match for Yao Jinyuan, but now, the powerful Yao Jinyuan's right arm had exploded so easily. This was probably something only an expert of the same level could do. At the thought of this, everyone's gaze shot to the back of the crowd at the same time. There was a fierce-looking middle-aged man. Many people saw clearly that the energy that exploded Yao Jinyuan's right arm was unleashed by this middle-aged man. Who is this person? I don't think I've seen this person before. I'm not sure either. He's never seen this person before either. However, this person is very powerful. He actually injured Tao Lord Yao. This isn't something an ordinary cultivator can do. The crowd discussed fervently. They all subconsciously retreated far away from Zhuan. Although Zhuan injured Yao Jinyuan, they all knew that it was a sneak attack. Now that this person was exposed, he would have to suffer Yao Jinyuan's wrath. This was going to be bad. Although they were very resentful towards Yao Jinyuan for stopping them from leaving the Eastern Space Camp, they were just complaining. However, they didn't dare to attack Yao Jinyuan, who was a highly respected Tao Lord. This was a place where people would die. They wouldn't really offend Yao Jinyuan. Now, this middle-aged man attacked without saying anything and even injured Yao Jinyuan. This guy was simply courting death. They didn't dare to get too close to this guy in case they were implicated. The cultivator who escaped from Yao Jinyuan's attack also noticed Yuan. He cupped his hands towards Zhuan to express his gratitude, but he didn't have any intention of getting closer. His eyes were filled with fear. He had just walked between life and death and had a lingering fear in his heart. He didn't dare to offend Yao Jinyuan again. Zhuan naturally noticed the crowd's sudden separation and guessed what they were thinking. He didn't care too much and raised his head to look at Yao Jinyuan. At this moment, Yao Jinyuan's gaze also landed on Zhuan. His face was extremely gloomy and his expression was terrifyingly cold. He suppressed the anger in his chest and looked at Zhuan as if he was looking at a dead man. "How dare you sneak an attack on me?" Yao Jinyuan took a deep breath and said in a cold voice that was filled with killing intent. Zhuan's expression was calm as he said, "Tao Lord Yao, you better not slander me like this. When did I sneak an attack on you? I was only trying to save that fellow cultivator. Speaking of which, you're the one who's been bullying us. We're free to enter and leave the space camp. Now you're restricting our freedom. What's the meaning of this? Moreover, this is the Eastern Space Camp and you're only the Tao Lord of the Northern Space Camp. If Tao Lord Tan were to give us orders, we'd accept it wholeheartedly. But who do you think you are? You've crossed the line by ordering us around." Zhuan's voice was very calm but his words were filled with hostility. Every word he said was filled with sarcasm towards Yao Jinyuan. Yao Jinyuan couldn't stand Zhuan's sarcasm. He said coldly, "Brother Tan and I are like brothers. Now that he's no longer around, I naturally have the responsibility to maintain order in the Eastern Space Camp. I don't want a troublemaker like you to cause chaos in the camp." Like brothers? If that's the case, then Tao Lord Yao should go to the host region to find Sakyamune and take revenge for Tao Lord Tan. What's the point of talking here? Are you trying to show off your ignorance and cowardice? Zhuan laughed coldly. "How dare you offend me again and again? You're courting death." Yao Jianyuan couldn't take it anymore. Every word Zhuan said was like a sharp sword that stabbed into his heart. He was speechless. In the end, he chose to use violence to suppress Zhuan. He wanted to kill Zhuan directly. Yao Jinyuan was very confident in himself. This cultivator who appeared out of nowhere was quite strong. However, he only managed to break one of Yao Jinyuan's arms by sneaking an attack. Chapter 34-22. As a footpad at this moment, Yao Jinyuan made his move. With a flip of his hand, he blasted out a palm strike. Terrifying energy exploded, as if the nine heavens' profound thunder had descended upon the world. The continuous explosion was terrifying. The moment Yao Jianyuan made his move, the momentum was so great that all living beings in the star battlefield could feel it. The two Tao Masters, LV Yelyang and Mei Zi, who were originally in charge of the Western Cosmic Campsite, were also awakened. The two of them walked out of their seclusion and looked towards the Eastern Cosmic Campsite. Over at the Cosmic Campsite, a terrifying energy appeared in the sky. It had the power to destroy the world and swept over. It was abnormally terrifying and eye-catching. Is this Yao Jinyuan's aura? Is he crazy? Why is he attacking the Eastern Cosmic Campsite? Is he going to destroy the Eastern Cosmic Campsite? The Western Tao Master, LVL Yang, looked gloomy. He took a step forward and rushed towards the Eastern Cosmic Campsite. What is Yao Jianyuan doing? The Southern Tao Master, Mei Ziyan, couldn't hold back either. He also took a step forward and rushed towards the Eastern Cosmic Campsite. Not only LVL Yang and Mei Ziyan, but the other cultivators in the Cosmic Campsite were also awakened. They all gathered towards the Eastern Cosmic Campsite, wanting to see what was going on in the Eastern Cosmic Campsite that caused such a terrifying energy fluctuation. As the crowd gathered towards the Eastern Cosmic Campsite, Yao Jianyuan floated in midair like a god or a demon. His remaining left hand had already struck out. The powerful energy condensed into a golden palm the size of a mountain. It whistled through the air and landed on top of Zhuowen's head. The cultivators near Zhuowen had already retreated far away. They looked at the golden palm in shock. They knew that Yao Jianyuan was really angry. He didn't hold back in this attack. Its power was too terrifying. It felt as if the entire world was going to collapse because of this palm. Especially the cultivators who had complained about Yao Jianyuan before. After feeling the terror of this attack, their faces turned pale. They swore to themselves that they would never speak carelessly in front of Yao Jianyuan again. In the hands of such a powerhouse, they wouldn't even be able to withstand a slap. Boom! The golden palm was very fast and it landed on Zhuowen's body in an instant. The blazing golden light instantly engulfed Zhuowen's figure, making it impossible for anyone to see him. On the ground where Zhuowen was standing, terrifying cracks began to appear. Then, it began to collapse, forming a deep and terrifying pit. It was pitch black, like an endless abyss. This fellow Taoist is dead for sure. It was fine if he just moved his mouth, but he might not even be killed. He's got some guts, actually daring to make a move. Now that he's angered Taoist Yao, this is the only outcome. The surrounding cultivators shook their heads and sighed. When they saw Zhuowen being killed just like that, they felt a little sad for him. After unleashing that palm strike, Yao Jianyuan slowly retracted his right hand and placed it behind his back. His eyes shone with arrogance as he looked around. When he saw that everyone was as silent as cicadas in winter, their eyes filled with fear and reverence, he felt very satisfied. It seemed that the effect of killing the chicken to warn the monkey was not bad. In the future, the cultivators of the Eastern camp would no longer dare to oppose him. Although his right arm was broken and he was angry, he felt that killing the cultivator who offended him was too easy on him. However, he was also quite pleased to receive such an obvious effect of killing the chicken to warn the monkey. This is your full strength attack? The so-called Taoist master's strength seems to be a little weak. Just as everyone was discussing and Yao Jianyuan was feeling proud, a cold and ruthless voice came from the deep pit below. The sound of footsteps was accompanied by the sound of footsteps. The footsteps were very regular, but when they stopped by everyone's ears, they had a different kind of magic, causing them to involuntarily stop talking and freeze in place. The expression on Yao Jianyuan's face instantly froze. His eyes almost popped out as he stared at the pit below. There, a figure slowly appeared. He was very familiar with this figure. It was the middle-aged man he thought was dead for sure. When Zhuowen completely appeared in front of everyone, the clothes on his upper body had been completely torn, revealing his strong body. Moreover, his body exuded a glazed brilliance that constantly flowed around him, as if he was forged from the most exquisite jade in the world. Everyone was in disbelief. They had indeed seen Yao Jianyuan's full-strength attack smash down on Zhuowen's body with the golden palm. However, there was no wound on Zhuowen's body and not even a drop of blood flowed out. How terrifying was this guy's physical body? It actually withstood the full-strength attack of a Taoist master in the middle stage. It was really unbelievable. Yao Jianyuan was also shocked, especially when he saw Zhuowen's perfect physical body. He felt his hair stand on end and felt a sense of panic. Courtesy demands reciprocity. You had a good time beating me up just now. Now it's my turn. The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a trace of a wicked smile. his right foot suddenly kicked off and he shot out like an arrow from a bow. Yao Jinyuan's expression changed drastically. He immediately took out his life artifact and protected his chest. This was a heart-protecting mirror, forged from bronze and flowing with a golden luster. It was very extraordinary. Zhuo Wen's fist smashed into the heart-protecting mirror, and a terrifying power exploded out. Cracks actually appeared on the heart-protecting mirror, and then it shattered into pieces, shattering into countless pieces. Then Zhuo Wen's fist was like a rainbow that pierced through the shattered heart-protecting mirror and ruthlessly smashed into Yao Jinyuan's chest. Puchi. Blood splattered. Yao Jinyuan's eyes widened and his body trembled as he looked at his chest in disbelief. He saw that Zhuo Wen's fist had penetrated his chest, and blood spurted out from his back, splashing into the air and sprinkling down, turning into a rain of blood. And his heart, under the terrifying force of the fist, had already exploded into pieces. Yao Jinyuan coughed out a mouthful of blood. He stared at Zhuo. Until now, he still couldn't believe that he had been defeated just like that. In just one move, he was beaten half to death and was now on the verge of death. Zhuo Wen's eyes were cold. He suddenly shook his right fist, and Yao Jinyuan grunted and kept retreating, escaping from Zhuo Wen's fist. But the moment he escaped from Zhuo Wen's fist, his chest was ruthlessly trampled by a foot. His sternum caved in, and he fell to the ground like a meteor, smashing a deep human-shaped hole in the ground. Yao Jianyuan tried to stretch out his hands to support his body, trying to stand up. Unfortunately, he had no chance. Zhuo landed on the ground, and his feet were on his chest, using him as a cushion to stand. At this moment, all the surrounding cultivators were dumbfounded. Looking at this extremely dramatic scene, they wondered if they were hallucinating. It was unbelievable that Yao Jianyuan had been defeated so easily. Chapter 34-23. Ruthless. Yao Jianyuan roared angrily. He felt extremely humiliated. He was the Northern Taoist master, one of the highest commanders in the Star Wars battlefield. He had a noble status, but now he was being stepped on by Zhuo Wen in front of everyone. His posture was too ugly. Divine light flashed on Yao Jinyuan's body. He was about to explode, but he was suppressed by Zhuo Wen and could not move. Do you want to die so badly? Zhuo Wen's foot stomped down on Yao Jinyuan's mouth. A powerful force exploded out, and Yao Jinyuan's jaw was dislocated. His flesh and blood were mangled, and his voice became indistinct. He couldn't make the correct sound. It's finally quiet. Zhuo clapped his hands. The surrounding cultivators were all dumbfounded. They cursed in their hearts. This guy is too fierce. Not only did he step on Yao Jianyuan like a stepping stone, he even stepped on his mouth because he thought he was noisy. This is a little too horrible to look at. Yao Jianyuan was terrified. His jaw was badly mangled, and the intense pain almost made Yao Jianyuan faint. He did not dare to scream anymore. The guy in front of him did not play by the rules. He was so unscrupulous. He was really afraid that if he angered this guy, he would attack fiercely and kill him. Whoosh whoosh. At that moment, two streams of light suddenly appeared above the Eastern Starry Sky campsite. A powerful aura filled the entire Eastern Starry Sky campsite. Everyone looked up and saw two dignified men. One of the men was wearing a long yellow robe. He had a high nose bridge and was quite handsome. The man in the yellow robe was the Western Taoist master, Lv Yelyang. The other man in the silver robe was the Southern Taoist master, Meizi. The arrival of the two Taoist masters caused an uproar. All the cultivators were in an uproar. In addition, above the other three camps, there were many figures flashing and flying over. They were like a swarm of locusts, densely packed together. They knew that the terrifying battle here had attracted the attention of the cultivators in the other Starry Sky campsites. Mei Zian and Lv Yelyang hovered above the eastern space camp. They immediately saw the huge crater below them and the terrifying energy waves that had yet to dissipate. It wasn't hard to imagine how terrifying the battle he had just experienced was. Then, the two of them finally saw Yao Jianyuan. When they saw Yao Jianyuan lying on his back in the pit, his chin was almost broken and he couldn't even speak clearly. A figure stepped on Yao Jinyuan's chest, using him as a footrest. The two of them fell silent, and then they were shocked. That guy was actually using the Tao Lord of the Northern Daolord's body as a stepping stone. As for Zhuowen, under Mei Zian and LV Yelyang's dumbfounded gazes, he used his feet to rub Yao Jinyuan's chest, causing Yao Jinyuan to wail in pain. Then, Zhuowen straightened his body, straightened his back, and put his hands behind his back. He pretended to look deep as he looked at Mei Zian and LV Yelyang. It was as if he was invincible and lonely in the world. When Yao Jinyuan saw Zhuowen stepping on him to show off, he was so angry that he almost jumped up and fought with his life. He wanted to slap Zhuowen to the ground and let him know why the flowers were so red. However, he didn't dare and could only fantasize in his heart, because Zhuowen had already shown him why the flowers were so red. If he dared to move, there was no telling which part of his body would bloom again. Who is this guy? Mei Zian was stunned. He was completely frightened by Yao Jinyuan's miserable state. He looked at Zhuowen with fear, especially Zhuowen's demeanor of an expert. Mei Zian and LV Yelyang were afraid of attacking him. They cursed him in their hearts. I don't know this guy, but I guess he was the one who fought with Brother Yao just now. This guy is not simple. Look, he is intact and has no injuries at all. This is incredible, LV Yelyang said with fear in his voice. Mei Zian nodded. He also found it incredible. Yao Jinyuan was an expert in the middle stage of the Sky-Reaching Lord. He was one of the 4 Path Lords on the starry battlefield. He had a high status and great strength. In the Xianmi Heavenly Territory, there was no one who could be a match for Yao Jinyuan. No one in the Xianmi Heavenly Territory could threaten Yao Jinyuan unless it was a real expert from the Sky-Reaching Place. But now, Yao Jinyuan had been beaten to a pulp by this show-off in front of them. Was this guy really an expert from the Sky-Reaching Place? Thinking of this, the two of them were even more afraid. Mei Zian cupped his hands to Zhuowen and said, "Fellow Taoist, which force of the Sky-Reaching Place do you come from?" Zhuowen, who had just finished showing off, wanted to continue to pretend to be profound. But when he heard Mei Zian's question, he was dumbfounded. He hadn't even been to the Sky-Reaching Place. He didn't even know which forces were in the Sky-Reaching Place, let alone which force he belonged to. But Zhuowen knew that he had to finish showing off, even if he had to hold back his tears. His gaze turned cold and deep as he coldly scrutinized Mei Zian and LV Yelyang. When the two of them felt their scalps tingle, he said indifferently, "You are not qualified for me to tell you who I am. Today, I came down from the Sky-Reaching Place and wanted to go to the host region to have a look. But I found that the transmitting formation was sealed. That's not all. This idiot came and made a big fuss. He even threatened us and threatened to kill me. He said I was like an ant. I've always had a good temper, but this idiot insulted me. I couldn't stand it, so I taught him a lesson and let him broaden his horizons." Yao Jinyuan, who was being stepped on by Zhuowen, heard Zhuowen call him an idiot. He rolled his eyes to protest against Zhuowen's impudence. Of course, Yao Jinyuan's petty actions were noticed by Zhuowen. He also made Yao Jinyuan pay a small price. He trampled on Yao Jinyuan's eyes. Yao Jinyuan screamed in pain and didn't dare to open his eyes again. Seeing Yao Jinyuan's miserable state, LV Yelyang and Mei Zian's eyelids twitched. It was too humiliating for a Taoist master to be beaten like this. Of course, this made Mei Zian and LV Yelyang even more afraid of Zhu. Their strength was almost the same as Yao Jinyuan's. Now that Yao Jinyuan was in such a miserable state, even if they attacked, they might not end up well. So they didn't dare to attack. Moreover, the two of them had long regarded Zhuowen as an expert who had come down from the Sky-Reaching Place. He must have a strong background. They couldn't afford to offend him. If they offended him, they would be finished. After Zhuowen taught Yao Jinyuan a lesson in front of everyone, the latter immediately became obedient and played dead. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.